Nice, we're live. Cool. I put in the starting time 5 minutes later because I had to still set up a couple of things on the stream, but we're here and we're doing well. That's good. So before we do some of the fun streaming stuff that we always do with the cast of games, I gotta let everyone know that the stream is going on. That's probably the most important thing, is letting your audience know that a stream is actually occurring. Because if nobody knows the stream is going on, nobody's going to watch it, and I get very lonely and talk to myself. And you don't want that, right? You want people to watch your stream and to enjoy every moment of your casting glory in it. That's the most important thing a streamer can ever do, really. Yeah. I was talking to somebody else about another stream I'm going to be doing for Sunday. Not as a normal role like a caster, but I actually am going to start to do some production stuff for ESOC TV now, which is pretty cool, They gave me the overlay and everything and had me basically practice with it, and I'm going to see how good I can do with it on Sunday. That should be pretty fun and a bit different than the usual, So definitely looking forward to that for sure. Yeah, 100%. So let's just get all these stream links out to everybody. I'll ping it on the Wars of Liberty Discord, of course, because they're the wonderful ones that gave me these cast of games to work with today. So if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be watching anything, Glory to the Wars of Liberty community and all the multiplayer games they do, including the ones that I'm not in as well, Because obviously I have work, had a lot of stuff go on lately where I'm not always recording things or streaming things, so it's good that they're always filling up the Rex Game channel on the multiplayer Discord for me to have stuff to use, which is always helpful for us all to be able to learn new strategies in Wars of Liberty that we can do. Yeah, it's always a nice little thing to have. Yep, ping on that one. Of course, we have to let the Wars of Liberty official Discord itself know what we're doing. So I'll be able to do that. Nice. Just fix the spelling typo on that. Good. How many other servers we have to do? Let me look at this one. Yeah, this one here looks pretty fresh. Do that. I may as well try this one. Yeah, it's good to open your horizons. For sure. That one, and I believe that one too. Should be good after that. Yeah, I think so. Perfect. Nice. I think I got all the Discord service I had to do in pretty record time as well. So now that we're done with the busy work, how is everybody here doing, basically? Is everybody enjoying the stream so far? Well, I know we haven't really done anything yet, so hopefully you're already enjoying it, because then if you're already enjoying it just staring at the title screen, imagine how the rest of it's going to be. Then you're going to be super entertained by it, right? Yeah, that'd be good. What I'm going to do now is, since I don't see any chat up here yet, is I'm going to be pulling down a bunch of downloads from that Wars of Liberty multiplayer Discord. So we have something to cast with today. I'm going to prioritize ones that I'm not in so we can focus on the glorious achievements of our other Wars of Liberty community players first, Because, you see me play a whole lot. So you already know what I'm going to do. It's better to see what other people do, too. Because I'm not everybody. I wish that I was, but unfortunately I'm not. So this one here. Start here and work my way up. Just skip around the ones that I am in for now. If we need those ones later, I'll certainly consider doing them. But, yeah. Neat. Definitely this one. This one. I think these ones is... let me think. I'm in those ones, so I don't know if I want to do those ones. Is that an FFA? How long ago was that? Did we do that one yet? 22? Might have done that one, so I'm just checking, making sure. Yeah, I might have done that one, so I definitely don't want to do it. Oh no, never mind. I definitely wouldn't have done that one because that one was done at 10:30 at night, so I don't think that one was done yet. All right. Yeah, just double checking, making sure I don't miss anything for sure. And what do we got right now? We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 games. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good one to start with. So I think I'll just start with that. I'll throw those into the good old save game oven. And we'll enjoy eating those game cookies together, basically. Those galletas de juegos, basically. Game cookies. Yeah, that'll be good. Let's put them in there. Probably don't need this reference save, so I'll just remove that so I can access save game easier. Cool. Nice. It's easy when you have quick access in your file explorer to get these things. Yeah, most definitely. And I'll just look along at the Discord server too to remind me what the file names are so we can follow it along in game when we're actually going through them. Yeah, that's always a good strategy to go for, usually. Alright, so what time is it now? 1 more minute? I'll give you guys 1 more minute to entertain me and tell me something about today. Something you enjoyed about today, whether it was work or playing Age of Mythology Retold or Wars of Liberty or DE or even Plants vs. Zombies Heroes. Anything is good. And how are people liking my PvZ Heroes stuff, by the way? Is it an interesting series for you? I know a lot of people from the PvZ Heroes community have definitely enjoyed my coverage of that, even though I do not have a lot of legendary cards yet. Well, I got some good ones, but not enough that I really, win super easy lemon squeezy, right? I don't have Guardian package or anything like that. But, I get by with some other stuff, quick draw conman and basically things like that can win me some pretty good games. Of course, I love the fun Conjure decks. The Conjure decks are what I really like. I honestly like it better than the competitive play. Just getting RNGesus to come and save you, basically. RNGesus with the Z, not an S. Yeah, pretty much. And I recommend, if you've never played it before and you don't like that sort of genre, that you still give it a try yourself and see how fun it is, because it truly is, I think you'll really get a kick out of it if you were to try it, for sure. Yeah, but anyways, it's about that time that we start casting games right now. I think we'll start with Black Dragon versus General Shadow. A Germany versus USA game, it says in the Discord, so that should be pretty fun. I think we have some Black Dragon games we haven't done yet either from a long time ago. So we'll have to check those out at some point as well. Just so we can bask in its glory, pretty much. Though I think it might be on the older patch, so we'll have to... I still have the older patch, so if we need it for viewing any ancient games, then we can definitely do that if needed. Most definitely. Yeah, but for this first game, it's going to be Black Dragon as Germany against Green Shadow as the United States. General Shadow, not Green Shadow. I saw the green and then I was thinking of PvZ Heroes and I thought of the hero Green Shadow. That's a Freudian slip right there. I've wanted to do PvZ Heroes and I was like, oh no, not Green Shadow. Yeah, don't pick Green Shadow. She's the worst hero in all the plants side, basically. Don't get Green Shadow. Do you want to use like Mega Grow, go Bonk Choi or Captain Combustible? They're great. But do not do Green Shadow if you want Mega Grow. It's utterly horrible. Yeah, but anyways, getting back to Wars of Liberty here. This should be a pretty interesting matchup, Germany is certainly a very powerhouse-driven civ behind its villager boom with the manor houses that they stole from the British, and they never gave them credit for, basically. Of course, they got free artillery as well from the Krupp factories, which is another nice bonus. But at the same time, your enemy is the United States, They got the advantage of being an Anglophone civ, so they can pick their unique units, depending on what their needs are. They get extra technologies being the United States, and of course they got great companies that are companies that are also great. Surprise, surprise, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, the wonderful drink that can also take the rust off of your car, basically. So it's really great for you. And some other things like Tiffany Diamonds, Colt Firearms, General Electric, all those good companies. Before we get started, let's check out the map. The map appears to be Carolina. Sweet Caroline, basically. And this is always the cool part of this map. You got the little island with a palm tree, basically, like a tropical palm tree here. And then you have a bunch of little crates on the island. You got about 2 food ones, you got a coin one, and you got a wood one. This is really funny because imagine somebody actually winning a game because they took one of their fishing boats, took a settler across, and actually grabbed these things for themselves, It pays for the cost of the fishing boat, and then you get 200 food and a bit of coin with it, so it's a good benefit. Overall, though, one thing I will say for this map is it's very late game centered. It's very large in nature, and it really rewards players that focus on economy as well as defense. People that are into super outright rushes don't do as good on this map unless they're really using a strong build and they're very experienced with it. That being said, you also have natives on this map. You get Seminoles and you get Cherokee. 2 very skirmish-based natives, good against heavy infantry, good against maneuver. And then you get this really nice trade route of 4 trading posts. It's pretty easy for each player to get usually 2 of these sockets here, respectively. In particular, I feel like, though, the player down here can usually, at least from what I see, the bomb player has a nice chance of sometimes getting 3 of the trade sockets if they're super duper greedy and they grab these ones first, and then they grab theirs down here last, basically. I'm not too sure of the player up here, though, because it appears, the map isn't perfectly even since it's not like a competitive map, but who cares? It's fun, If the map isn't fun, why would we do it anyways, I'm only for the fun, entertaining maps, pretty much. Let's begin right now and have some fun with our first game of the night here, or the afternoon, or the morning, depending on where you live, right? I know we got viewers from all time zones, basically. Some from Asia, some from the Middle East, some from Russia, Europe, the Americas. So, depending on where you live, it might be a different time, and that's cool, you know. I know for me, sure, I would definitely like to watch it at night because it's the last thing you do before you go to bed and get ready for another grueling day on the grind of work. So, yeah, what a better way to get ready for work than spend a day watching one of my streams. Yeah, definitely is very fun. Not as fun as the United States, though, in the late game, that's for sure. The United States is going for kind of an interesting situation here. The berries? Why are you going for berries? Why are you going for berries? You got hunts on this map, you know. I know that the hunts on this map are a little wonky because you have to travel a little far to find them, but I would have been moving around the map and scouting instead to find the... Yeah, this isn't good either. You really want to be herding these in towards the town center, not away from the town center, and it's something I do a lot too, but in general, good rule of thumb, herd your hunts towards the town center. And then as soon as you find that hunt, you would ideally especially want these fur traders, no matter what number they are, depending on your civ, to start migrating over to here, basically, you know. Since you only got one with the United States at the start, you would want to take that one fur trader up here to start working on this hunt, you know. Because their hunt-and-gather rate is going to be much better than that of the berries. Especially with the hunting dogs technology that USA just researched from that market as well. The hunting dogs tech for United States is kind of interesting. Instead of being 50 wood and 50 coin, the Anglophony one is about 100 wood. So you don't even need to macro onto coin mines at all to get that nice technology, pretty much, you know. Also, a lot of the other costs for the other techs are quite different as well. Like the first wood chopping upgrade at the Anglophony market costs 100 coin instead of 100 food. The mine hammer, which is the first mining one, is like 100 food and 50 coin. So it's a little bit different, you know. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes not so much. You have to plan your macro around the specific needs of the Anglo civs to make it work for you, really. And this is another thing you can do with your fur traders around your area. Instead of hunting right away, you can actually use them to help your doggos here, which is your main explorer, to take out these treasure guardians, since the fur traders do retain their multipliers against treasure guardians, being a hero villager of sorts. Both the hero and the villager tag. Yeah. Picking up a really good treasure here of a settler. This added settler is going to be really huge for General Shadow, because this is a lot of added villager seconds to his economy that's really going to push him ahead, you know. His start really wasn't that strong going on to the berries, but the fact that there is an extra villager in play now will probably make up for a lot of that, honestly, you know. I'm liking the first shipment here, 2 fur traders. This is really good. These fur traders are excellent food gatherers, so the more of these you can ship in and train, the better off you're going to be. And for those of the past that said, you know, why are fur traders good because they just become useless at the end of the game? Well, not anymore. As you saw at the start of the game, you saw the fur trader here grabbing some of the berries. That's one thing that they can do now. Another thing the fur traders can do now as well is they can gather from mills too. You know, once they trap all the animals and they don't have any more animals, I guess they just become farmers, I guess, and grow wheat or corn or whatever. So at least these fur traders have a late game potential now, and it feels like they truly contribute to the Anglophony economy now, deep into the game, even after the hunts are gone, which is pretty good, you know. Fur traders were always a strong option, but they sort of dropped off once all the hunts disappeared and they were just a bunch of random explorers that cost 1 pop running around the map. There was that time when they used to be able to pray at the church, but now that there's no religion, that was no longer an option. They were utterly useless until now, where they can actually do berries and farming. Going for advanced stock, So we're probably going to see some farming here. On the water, that is. Water farming. And by farming on the water, I mean fishy. Yeah. Eating lots of fish, basically. One added effect that Advanced Stock does in Wars of Liberty that it doesn't do in Legacy or DE is it unlocks this building called the Fishery from your fishing boats. And essentially what a fishery is, it's a floating wood plank platform you can put on the water. And it will allow you to train more fishing boats from it. So if you don't want to build 2 docks to get a fishing boom up, what you can do is get Advanced Stock, make only 1 or 2 fishing boats, and use them to build fisheries, which will be able to build more fishing boats onto the water itself, you know. The fishery can go anywhere on the water. It doesn't have to be on the shoreline. It can be right in the middle of the ocean, basically, of the Atlantic here. So it's just a really good way of spreading out on the map very quickly. And I can imagine, too, you could probably even wall a bit with them, too, and obstruct your opponent from crossing the water easily with them, too. It's not something I've experimented a lot with yet, but I'm sure you can, since it's a pretty cheap building to get. I think it's only like 100 wood or something. At least if I'm thinking back to the old days of War of the Triple Alliance and early Wars of Liberty, when it used to be a Latin American exclusive thing back then. Now it's an everybody thing, which is nice. Now, what is Germany doing here? We've been talking a lot about the Gringo Civ today, but what about the Germans? The German-like. So Germany, interesting. So it looks like Black Dragon has finally made a legit deck that isn't a cheat deck. Hallelujah to that, you know. People were critical of him for a while for using those 40-card decks, basically. So I guess he finally decided, you know what? I'm going to be a traditionalist finally and get the good old 25-card deck. And looking at this deck right now, looks pretty good. I mean, it's certainly lacking some of the Germany cards I personally like, but he's really got, well, let's see. He's got enough Craig cards for sure. He's got majority of the good infantry upgrades, which is good. He's got a lot of forts here. He's got the Krupp factory configuration options of the Farpanzer, or the mobile armor down here, and then he has the one for the steel gun up here at the Essen Stahlwerk. He's got the factories, got the artillery upgrades, has engineering school, which actually helps out the Krupp factories, believe it or not. At least for the artillery pieces that it's supposed to, right? Because, as you see there, it only affects steel guns by 10%, but for things like the foot artillery, the culverins, those will come out 30% faster with this card, which is great for that. Other than that, though, I see a lot of booming in Age 1. You firstly got Haubrich Plan, which is the German version of the Virginia Company, essentially making the manor houses that Germany has about the same price as British would get with Virginia Company. So that way you can get more and more free villagers out of your manor houses then, right? For those that don't know what British do in Legacy, basically you build a house, you get a free villager when you build the house. So if you play your cards right, you can get 20 villagers up on your opponent, basically, and lead to a really good boom situation for yourself. With Germany, it really stacks very quickly, since first they get out all those villagers, and then they start building Krupp factories, and then they're getting free artillery throughout the game, and they can take all those extra villagers just to spam out cav or infantry. In the eyes of an expert and somebody who can turtle well, it can spell certain doom to all their opponents. But if you're not too careful, you get super greedy with the boom, and you don't defend, yeah, you can still get defeated, so you have to be very smart about it. You have to know what you're doing, pretty much. So we actually see one of these fisheries right now on the United States side. It's basically, again, like a little wooden plank platform, some barrels and crates on it, and yeah, it just trains fishing boats. Floating platform that trains fishing boats. There we go. Exactly what it does. It's going to be investing heavily into the fishing as well with fish processing, which I think it's the second fishing upgrade, if I recall, of the Anglophone Civs. So he's going pretty quickly with the fishing economy. General Shadow's definitely going to have a very strong economy here to do with Germany. I feel like what's going to happen is Germany's going to do what Germany usually does and just go with all the Meizkern / manor houses to get the free bills, up to 20 extra free bills. And while that's going on, USA's going to just focus on all water, getting out these fishing boats to take the whole entire Atlantic coastline of the Carolinas here, all for himself. Yeah, that seems about it. I mean, picking up the land grab now. Interesting option. I mean, it certainly helps you with your late game economy and being able to get your mills and plantations out a bit easier with the cheaper costs, and then they build quicker as well. Yeah. I'm just trying to see like what's the USA's plan. I also see they got some of the miners as well from the home city there, the 4 miner shipmen. And this can be pretty good because these miners work the exact same way as they do in the campaign pretty much. They have their pickaxe to go into melee with, which isn't too bad, and then they throw dynamite at their enemies, which when you stack them up in large armies, they can do a pretty good job at pretty much. So yeah, they can be pretty skilled if you're not careful, really. And one thing you should know too about these miners is, similar to how the fur traders can gather food from the mills, the miners can actually gather from plantations as well and actually construct them. So yeah, the developers basically, while it doesn't make sense seeing a miner start to pick cotton in a cornfield somewhere, they just sort of wanted to make sure that both of these specialized villagers can still gather somewhat into the late game, even after their natural resources on the map fades away, essentially. Picking up Ship of the Line. This is a pretty good upgrade for the Anglophone civs. Going for aggression on the water too for an opponent that isn't even there really. So yeah, hopefully there's a bit of naval action today, and these upgrades on the schooners do essentially become valuable. That's what these light ships are called from the Anglophones. They're called schooners. Just like the card schooner that the Europeans get that makes their fishing boats cheaper. I bet you didn't expect the schooner to be an actual warship in War's Liberty, but here you go. Schooner. The CSS Pamlico, essentially. Now, what I don't understand is well, I guess because of the way the random text works, you can sort of end up having Confederate vessels, basically, ships named after Confederate vessels, even though you're the Union and vice versa, which is pretty strange. I guess they don't have enough complicated XML code to basically say, only give them these names that they're the Confederacy, and only give them these names that they're the Union, pretty much. So, yeah, that's the way it works out for that, pretty much. Going with the Louisiana Purchase gives them a nice food trickle, also gives you 3 free Courrier de Bois, pretty much, which, of course, as you know, are really good villagers. Especially with the Civ that gets extra gathering upgrades, these Courrier de Bois can enjoy a very prosperous life in the economy of the United States. As long as you keep them alive, of course. We see the schooner go into a battle with these line infantry here, which are basically just musketeers, but renamed for the 19th and 20th century, pretty much. Yeah. Going after the dock is probably recommended. That way, no more fishing boats, but again, because you got the advanced dock, you can build some more of these fishery platforms on the map and still get fishing boats that way. You're just not going to be able to defend them with any more schooners if you lose the dock. The dock is looking like it's being used currently as a bit of a distraction here. Enough of a distraction to allow General Shadow here to get some militia as well as the leathernecks. Essentially, these leathernecks are what we consider to be naval infantry, so they're basically skirmishers, very specialized types of skirmishers that have multipliers against artillery and siege units instead of the usual stuff. And then instead of the usual pierce armor, they have crush armor. So they're really good at fighting ships, they're good at fighting cannons, and they're good at fighting things like grenadiers and stuff like that. Combined with the militia, which are essentially the Anglophonies' version of the crossbowmen, wielding a rifle or musket instead of the usual crossbow. They sort of have the similar stats as the crossbowmen, really. Slight multipliers against heavy, stronger multipliers against the light cap. And that's essentially what you're seeing here. Early skirmishers being made to deal with the line infantry, but now we see a change to spontooners, which I don't know too much about. Why would he go for spontooners here? Those are spearmen that's only good against cav. And I don't see these line infantry jumping on top of a horse anytime soon, so I don't know what that's about. I don't know his train of thought on that. He's also getting some of the villagers involved as well, which I'm not too sure about. I definitely would want to keep those villagers alive if I could. Yeah, why are you going with the spearmen? You understand that the line infantry has hand armor, right? Hack armor, so basically, if we look at a spontooner on the next cycle here, I'll show you just how low their hand attack really is. Right over here. As you can see, they get less hand attack than even standard pikemen do of the Europeans. And then, of course, you're dealing with 20% hack armor here. So really, they're only dealing like 6 damage per hit against these things. And since these line infantry have over close to 200 HP now, that's like nothing. They can deal with the spears all day and night, basically. That's like nothing. It's like getting tickled or something like that. A very tickled German, basically. Picking up an upgrade on gunpowder infantry stats here. The repeating rifles, pretty much. It gives your ranged infantry, your gunpowder ones, 15% increased attack. Which of course is really good, especially for your Leatherneck here. Leatherneck, you know, I get why he's making the Leatherneck. He's trying to make the most of his army production now. I just wish that he would add some militia in with them. You know, because I feel like having this much line infantry grouped up with your, having this much line infantry is going to make your Marines feel not that useful anymore. You know, these Leathernecks are going to fall apart because they lack those multipliers that most skirms do against things like muskets. Now, they're only doing about 18 range damage. This is not that great, honestly. Whereas these line infantry are doing 26 range damage, have more HP, so... Yeah, and of course, because these are naval infantry, they don't have pierce armor either to survive the shots of the muskets that well. So they're taking like full damage, which is not great. Colonial militia shipment has arrived. That means we're probably going to see a lot of Minutemen here very, very soon to deal with this big massive infantry. Oh, he's going for the island. He's going for the island. I knew he was going to go for... Well, I didn't know if he was going to go for the island, but he looks like he's going to go for the island. He's going to sit on this little isolated island all by himself and basically take a soccer ball and name it Wilson. We know how this goes, right? Now, this looks like a horrible island to live on. You know, only one tree. It's not even any coconuts on it. So how do you live there? You know, you grab those little cords of wood and money and food, and what do you do after that, you know? You just chop down that one tree for a fire and that's it. I guess you could grab some of the fish nearby, but doesn't look like a place you want to live on. It's like just like a big giant ball of sand in the middle of the water, pretty much. Yeah, we see a big contingent of Minutemen being made out of the town center a second time. Did he just demolish his own TC? Oh, he did, because he probably wants to build one up here. This is like a trolling game, you know. He's not gonna just resign because everybody else would resign in this situation. No, he's gonna build a town center on top of this mound of sand here. He's gonna try to get a dock first, it looks like. But what do you do when that one tree is gone? Like, how do you get the wood to keep yourself going? I don't know. This is very strange. Is that a market? Oh, he's building the general store now. Weird. For those that don't know the difference between a market and a general store, basically the general store is just like a regular market, except it has great company research at it that only the United States gets, right? You know, no other market in the world has great companies out of it, but these general stores do. So yeah, most definitely. If you like great companies, come to the general store. Lamau. Que onda, bro? He caught me off guard this game. Nice stream. Yeah, Omar upload today's game on this. Lamau. Dot dot dot. Yeah, it's always like that, you know. It's always that basically always happens, you know. It's the day that the stream is coming that you get your game upload, and it's like, oh, I wonder if my game's gonna be on the stream. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. You got it just in the nick of the time, and I think this is a good one. You know, I like this one so far. I don't think this game is really good for like teaching specific gameplay skills. It's just overall entertaining to watch. You know, anybody that grabs the island is clearly a troll and a memester, and that's good enough for me. You know, you don't have to win the game. If you grab the island, you're already playing the game better than most people do, because I don't think most people have the, you know, the baseballs basically to grab the island and extend the game longer than it should be. That takes a lot of strength to do. And it might even irritate your opponent so much that they resign even, you know. Black Dragon might say, you know, this is getting really boring, I'm already in Great War Age, and I forgot what an airplane is, and I resign because he's stuck on the little island and I don't want to go after him. Yeah, basically. He's chopping down the one tree, though, left on the island, so once he loses the tree, then he's going to sit there making sandcastles pretty much on the big giant island in the middle of the water. And I like how the whale basically defies physics and he's swimming through the sand. You know, if I know anything from my local news networks, every time you see a whale on the beach, it's like a environmental emergency. But apparently in this game, whales can swim into the sand all the time and just do it like they're sandworms or something. Very interesting. A bunch of veteran line infantry, but there's nothing to fight. Picking up the hit and run tactics, it makes your infantry move a bit faster. But the problem is, why do you care how fast your infantry is moving if there's nowhere to run to, right? You can't run on this little island. All you can do is basically swim, and they can't swim, so what's the point of hit and run tactics if you can't swim? Swim to the shoreline and start running around. Really none. Does he have any good cards left? I would try to send Alaska Purchase, because that gives you a wood trickle, and you probably need that right now. Especially once you chop down your one last tree. You're going to need some wood to stay alive for the winter. Well, actually there's no winter down there. It's Carolina, right? So, yeah, I think it's just south enough in the... Yeah, it should be warm enough down there to stay alive in the winter. Yeah. It still isn't good that you got rid of your one tree, though, because now you're not getting any more wood to build stuff. No town center, though. That's the one that's killing me right now. No TC. You need a town center. You need a town center probably around here, so you can use its anti-ship attack to stop whatever Black Dragon sends against you, pretty much. Yeah. Black Dragon is living the life on Carolina. He's got no competition anymore. He's grabbing all the trade routes, grabbing all the native sites, again, even the Cherokee technologies, Sequoia's Cherokee Syllabile, which gives you free villies, Cherokee basket weaving, which makes your ecotechs at the mill and plantation free in wood, I believe, right? Oh yeah, so all that stuff, pretty much. Quite a lot. Ooh, schooners. Oh, he's going for a raid? What is this madman doing? He takes his whole He takes all his refugees and he goes to an attack. He's gonna be chopping his trees. This is an act of war right here. He's chopping his trees. He's destroying his environment. He's destroying Black Dragon's ecosystem. He's an environmental monster. Wow. How dare you chop my trees? How dare you get rid of my censored? Very mean. Foot artillery. Yeah, gonna try to shoot with the Marines. Well, this is actually a good situation because the Marines actually do have multipliers against the foot artillery here. I alternately call them between Marines and Leathernecks because they are just Marines. Because they used to be called Marines, and for the European Cids it has the same exact unit, they're called Marines. So you can call them Marines, you can call them Leathernecks, it really doesn't matter. Basically they're the same naval unit pretty much, for good reference. So looks like the refugees are going to have to go back in the boat now after chopping all of his trees in that one spot. The Marines didn't survive though, so going back to the little island of shame now. So think of your next plan and think about what you did wrong. What is even going on here at this point? What is the point? The space wasn't enough for a town center and I didn't have enough money. Money? You don't need money to make a town center. You need wood. You need wood to make a town center. You don't make a town center with money. I mean, in fact, if you're going to take the one tree that you chop down and use all the wood to make paper money, that's a waste of that wood. You should have been using the wood from that tree to make a town center, not paper money. You know, paper money's useless once there's inflation, man, you know? Just get Joe Biden for president for a number of years and your paper money won't be anything anymore, pretty much. So, you know, just turn it into a town center, basically. That's it. That's what you use the wood for. Yeah. Yeah, but anyways, whenever you do like sort of this island trolling thing, it's always key to get a town center because the town center has a really good anti-ship attack. I mean, certainly the redoubts are also good, so probably a town center here and then some redoubts around it. And that just makes it like jumping on a porcupine for your opponents. So yeah, definitely something they should consider for sure in the future. Black Dragon going to the Industrial Age with impunity. I wonder if he's going to go Great War Age. He probably could if he wanted to. He could just go Great War Age. And while you got this sea monkey out in the ocean here, basically making sandcastles, you just get a bunch of World War I planes and just bomb his island like it's Pearl Harbor at that point, you know, into the ground. Yeah, that's probably what I would do, you know. I'd do it for fun. No, you know what you do? You get the bombers out, you shoot the towers, and then when all the little sea monkey villagers that haven't seen land in years come out running into the sand, then you release the Zeppelin on them, and you know how it goes from there, right? Yeah, that's the fun way to do it, you know. Don't attack the island, just make some mustard gas. Commit some Wars of Liberty crimes against humanity. Yeah, that's what you do. That's what we pay for when we see these events, is Wars of Liberty crimes against humanity. Mark your territory. What? Ew! The dog peed in the sand. Don't step over there. It's dirty. Yeah. Yeah, what did you think they meant by mark territory? The dog literally pees on the ground. It'd be cool if they could show the little spot of... They should do that. The Wars of Liberty devs should do that. Instead of just showing a random circle, they should show like a little yellow puddle where the dog was to let them know that's the marked territory, basically. So you can see it on the map. Like a big glob of yellow. Yeah, hope maybe not a glob, but just a little like yellow spot there. Because otherwise, how are the kids supposed to know what mark your territory means? The point was trolling him. I know, man. I know you were trolling him. That's exactly it. This was a troll move, and I love it. I love this move, you know. I saw Gene P do this during the Liga, the last Liga that we had. He did this on the little islands in Hudson Bay. And he did the same thing. He put a town center on one island, and then he put towers on the other island. It was super hilarious, you know. But you know what happened? The Juanito wasn't going to go a Great Warrior. She just got super rushed and heated and just went for a trade monopoly, which is the wrong way to do it, you know. If you're going to have your opponent troll you on those little islands in the water, do not go trade monopoly. Don't take the easy way out. You go to Great War Age, build some planes, and then you bomb them. You go Pearl Harbor on them. That's what you do. Yeah, don't go trade monopoly. That's easy, you know. If you want it easy, go I don't know. Something, yeah. I don't even know at this point. Oh yeah, go play Age of Empires 4, that's right. Go play AoE 4 if you want it easy. That was easy. Yeah. I actually don't know if AoE 4 is that easy, but it seems like it's like AoE 2 but watered down and with some 3D stuff. At least that's what I think, you know. If I want to like experience an AoE experience like no other, either do AoE 3 or do Age Mythology. And if you're looking for like hyper gameplay stuff, then do AoE 1 or AoE 2. AoE 4 is sort of like a weird member of the AoE series. Not because there's anything particularly bad about it, it just feels like it's like a clone of AoE 2 with 3D stuff, almost. And they try to give you the impression that stuff is unique here and there, which sometimes it is, but it's way too subtle, I think. If they wanted to like make AoE 2 into like a total war game where all the units are unique and stuff, and totally different between Civ and Civ, they probably could have done much better with AoE 4, but you know, they still had that sort of cohesion with the basic unit archetypes, and that sort of ruined it, I think. You know, they still got the men-at-arms, you still got the knight, you still got the spearman. They should have just made them all like totally unique things, you know. And they did that a little bit with some of the stuff, but they could have went a lot further with it, I think. Most definitely. Here's a fort here. Solidifying his control of the Carolinas. Making mortars from the Krupp factory. I probably would too. Oh yeah, most definitely. I subscribe. Viva el Wool. Now my PC will die if I play AoE 4. I think that's the case with a lot of people that watch the channel, you know. You need a really high-end PC, which you probably shouldn't have to play AoE 4, you know. I remember, like, I had this, like, loaner PC to do my YouTubing for a while my other one got some repair work on it. And, I noticed, as soon as I recorded AoE 4 for, like, a number of minutes, it started to stutter like crazy after, like, 10 minutes. Like, the PC's poor fan was about to die when I put AoE 4 on it. Well, it didn't. It didn't crash. The game didn't crash, but recording it, the recording looked so nasty. It was like, ugh, yucky, yucky, yucky. I don't like this. I wanted to go back to this old PC as fast as possible, because the PC I use now for the streaming is like an actual gaming laptop, so it works really good. The other one wasn't necessarily a gaming one, but it had some good graphics on, you know. It had some good graphics on it, that's for sure. I think it lost a lot of the CPU power that I have on this one, but in return it had better graphics in certain areas, technically. But I don't know. Graphics card was good, for sure. Yep, so how's this gonna end? How was Black Dragon gonna make, General Shadow kneel? How is he gonna make him kneel? Take the knee. How is he gonna make him do it? Let's find out. Let's find out. Getting pumped. Well, he's almost in Imperial Age, and what is he Imperial Aging with? Oh, the capitalists. He's going with the capitalists. That's good. I think it gives you coin, right? Yeah, capitalist, it gives you money. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Where's it? Where did the town center? Oh, right here. Ah, cool. You got 2,000 coin now. Awesome. That's a lot of money. Trade Monopoly? Come on, you didn't have to do that to him. That's not nice. Just be a good sport and build some airplanes in Pearl Harbor's island. Don't get Trade Monopoly. When you get Trade Monopoly, that means you're scared. You're scared to go after him. You're scared to get your boats in the water. Didn't even build a dock. So yeah. General Shadow won this game, not Black Dragon. Black Dragon kneeled by going with Trade Monopoly. So General Shadow is the winner unofficially. Yeah, look at this post game. Big difference. Super duper Germany economy. If you're Germany and you don't have the biggest score in the game in the 1v1, you're not playing Germany. You're playing some weird tiddlywink simulator with no manor houses or something. So definitely make sure you always have the best score with Germany in a 1v1 in Wars of Liberty. If you don't, it's concerning. Very concerned. That's for sure. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to exit out of the game and then I'm going to reboot the game once again because unlike in Definitive Edition, if you try to play consecutive matches of Wars of Liberty or try to load them up into the game, what happens is you always have the chance of the game either freezing or you lose certain textures of the buildings and units, which doesn't look so pretty. Because you want to look super duper pretty here, right? Super fancy schmancy. I almost clicked on Scenario Editor again. No, don't do that. I've done that before. It's not that fun, you know. You want to make sure you always click on the right one. So what's the next game called? It's called Der Cap versus Saskies. What's a Saskies? What's a Saskies? It's named Sask. What's a Saskies? Is that like what his name translates to as Saskies or something? Der Cap versus Saskies. Saskis or something, I don't know. Trying to make him sound Greekish or something? Or Russian? Ooh, so it's going to be a 2v2 here. Alright, this is cool. I like this. This is the Manchac, right? The Manchac, that good old American swamp map that has Seminole natives on it. I ended up playing this one the other day against Sask, actually. So this one gives me a lot of memories, actually. So yeah, one seems pretty familiar to me. Yeah, definitely. Before we get started, let's just check out the map and see how it's going to affect the team battle here. Essentially, the way Manchac works is the very center of the map has a lot of these sort of like little canyons sticking out of the swamp pretty much in sort of like this little ring, which can be a bit of a choke point, you know, since this is a shallow swamp, right? You actually can walk your units across this water. You just can't construct any buildings there, right? You know, you wouldn't want to build a house right on top of the water, right? Or else it gets super wet and soggy and stuff. Yeah, not a good idea. So you definitely want to build on the dry land over here. But other than that, this sort of like ring-style choke point here can be a pretty big contention point. Or you can go around it too. You can go down through this corridor here, or you can go through the swamp up here in the north. You know, and one of the scary parts about raiding from the north here is you can't actually build like lookouts or towers or houses along this whole swamp area. So you can sneak up on someone with like hussars and attack them right in this flank here, which can be very frightening if you're not ready for it. Yeah, and of course you got a decent trade route here with about 3 trading posts, 1 for each team, and then this is one that both teams can compete for in the center here of the circle. Then you got Seminoles here, and then you got Seminoles down here. So a lot of stuff going on. And let's start the game and see exactly what's going on now. Yeah. So we got a team here with Cappy and Der Kaiser. So this should be a pretty good team. One of the players is Dutch. And Cap is going as Japan. Vanilla civs, they're far from vanilla. Well, mainly the case for the Dutch, you know. Japan in Wars of Liberty is actually pretty close to the way that they are in the Legacy game, pretty much. But they do have a bit of a rework in their unit roster, you know. No more Yumi Bowman, instead they have the Kie Skirmisher, which I'm pretty sure has basically the same stats as Yumi Bowman, but he fires a gun. Right, and then you got the Shiguma Musketeer instead of the Ashigaru Musketeer. Only difference is, instead of, you know, like the rice farmer hat, he's basically wearing a red wig. The world's very first line of anime girl, VTuber crossdresser, cosplayers pretty much. Yep, definitely. And on the other side, you have Hishe is the Italians. He always plays the Italians. Like, he doesn't always play the Italians, but when he's not doing American, he's not doing Lakota, he's doing Italians. And Sasuke's playing as the United States of America. Very good. Very good set of civs, you know. I think in this situation, Dutch and Japan on the same team can be a very frightening reality. Now, this could be pretty scary, you know. See, what Dutch has is, the Dutch roster was completely reworked in Wars of Liberty very recently in the Great War Age patch. Big things you'll notice is basically, they get this musketeer now called the Flanker that is also a hybrid of a skirmisher. What that means is it has both a heavy infantry tag and a skirmish tag, which in terms of taking multiplier damage from enemies, that can be a little daunting, but there's good advantages to it. Basically, the Flanker has a faster movement speed than the average musketeer does. It has more range than a musketeer does. Its range attack has multipliers against like cavalry or maneuver units, and then its melee attack is, you know, a real bayonet attack that actually counters hand cavalry, which is really nice, actually. So yeah, most definitely, it's just really good for that whole thing overall. And on top of that, the Dutch also have sort of this triangular aspect to their civ bonuses. See, the good old Dutch Empire in Wars of Liberty reflects on the three regions of the Dutch Empire. You got the European side, the Indonesian side, and then you have the African side around West Africa, you know, the Ashanti pretty much. And as you can see right here, you got three different types of builds. You got the settler. Settler, though it does look like a normal settler, actually has an improved gather rate against mills and berries. I think it's about 10%. And then you have another villager here, the Javanese labor. It actually costs wood, about 60 wood. So it's like almost like an Indian villager. It gathers better from trees. And then you get slaves, which, you know, has the basic outline of the slaves of Brazil pretty much, except for the Dutch. The cost is a bit reduced in coin. And it gathers better from mines and plantations pretty much. So yeah, that's sort of the way that this Dutch civ works is. All the different villagers gather a little bit better at one particular resource. I don't think, though, that they gather worse at the other resources, though. So if you did want to take a bunch of Javanese laborers and slaves and work on a hunt, you could still do that. But if you want to max out on their most peak villager second efficiency, you're going to want to keep them on the resource that they gather the best from, pretty much. It's just going to work out better for you. Yeah. And hunting really doesn't matter too much what you put on it, because all the villagers really gathers the same way from the hunts, pretty much. As you know, before, the one food villager here, the settler, only gathers better from berries and farming. Yeah. We'll look at their deck right now and see how they're going to play this. So, it's looking a little bit more like a mercenary deck in a way. You know? We do see some early game potential here with this card, the Shore Leave. Basically, it unlocks the marine infantry at your barracks and allows you to train and upgrade them there. Normally, you can only make marine infantry from your light ships, like the schooner we saw before, or maybe the Aviso if you're Europeans. But with this card, you can train it at your normal military building. and treat them like the rest of your infantry. You know, that can be really good against artillery, that can be good against siege units, since all naval units like that are just really good against those two use cases. And they can really synergize well with the flankers in that sense in certain situations. Other than that, though, we see a lot of emphasis on like coin mercenary shipments, and we see an emphasis on natives. See, these are actually native warriors, the Undaunted. These are basically like extremely weak musketeer natives that arrive in very large shipment numbers, you know. And basically what that means is you can stack up a lot of these Undaunteds alongside your normal army, and since they're natives, they don't cost any pop, and they just act as like a really good cannon fire that you can put in front of your stuff, basically, if you use it properly, which can be pretty good, you know. Be pretty good. As far as combat is concerned, only the infantry combat here in terms of like military upgrade. This infantry combat card here really upgrades all the infantry in the Dutch roster, whether that be the flanker, the skirmisher, which they have in H3 now instead of H2, bummer. The grenadier, which they have at the barracks in H2 now, since of course, as you know, grenadiers were totally reworked in Wars of Liberty, and then the Marines. Yeah. As far as H4, it's basically just all coin shipments, it looks like. You got the Caribbean Mercenary Army, the Indonesian Pantangpulens, and then you got more Undaunteds. Alright. What about Cap? What's Cappy doing? Cappy has a basic Japanese rush deck, it looks like, with the daimyos, which are called Genshui generals in Wars of Liberty, the diplomatic intrigue, basic Japanese upgrades for military, the cards, all that. So this is looking like a rush deck. Started with the Heavenly Kami to make the shrines cheaper and gather a little bit better, which I think is a pretty good way to go. Went with the Toshugu Shrine, though. Very interesting choice. So he went kind of full greed with the shrines, pretty much. One thing I'll say, though, that he probably missed out on was getting the consulate in H1 and making the Toshugu Shrine cheaper with the Portuguese allies, which you can still do in Wars of Liberty. That's still a mechanic. So I don't know why he didn't do that. I probably would have helped out quite a bit. Certainly what I would have done if you were going Toshugu Shrine. Now what's going on the opposing side? Oh, it looks like Sask is doing the Fast Fortress. And from what I understand from what Sask likes to do, he's probably going FF to get the Texas Rangers, I would assume. You know, Texas Rangers can be a really strong Confederacy-based cav unit that you can go for with the United States, right? Every time you age up as an Anglophone, you choose between two different factions of units, right? You can either, in the case of USA, go Union or go Confederacy, right? In H3, the Union would have the Mounted Rifleman, which is basically just a Dragoon that has very mediocre range attack, but its multipliers are very big, essentially. But in the case of the Confederacy, they have the Texas Ranger, which is the total polar opposite in many ways. It's got a pretty strong range attack, but then it has multipliers against heavy infantry and cav instead of cav and artillery, you know. Also Sporn the skirmish tag, which a lot of ranged cavalry usually doesn't, you know. It's pretty rare for there to be mounted skirmishers in the game. But there are some, and the Texas Ranger now classifies as one of those. Looks like Italy indirectly knows where all the shrines are now if he wants to start cooking them, start roasting them. Yeah, it looks like Hisei hasn't changed his deck at all, but it's looking pretty good, you know. It relies a lot on economy and early villager shipments. He's doing double barracks line infantry right now. And these line infantry from Hisei can be a pretty big annoyance, you know. He loves to just stack up large groups of these things and go after you, which is actually surprisingly obnoxious since he does actually research all those upgrade cards for him. So, I mean, they're basically at full strength when you give Hisei time to tech into them early. It can be pretty daunting. Yeah, most definitely. Oh yeah, Shadow Striker. He will resign. That's how it will end. Now, for myself, I see him see him a winner. Skull. Yeah, that was a good game though. I totally liked that game. That was awesome how you trolled him on the island though. 100%. Yeah, most definitely. Ooh, ship the Grenadiers right out of the tower. That's spicy. Instant threat. Yeah, these Grenadiers can be a real problem if you're not careful, you know. Well, the old school Grenadiers, you know, were a big threat because they're like little mini pieces of artillery with their splash attack. These Grenadiers from Wars of Liberty are far more compact. You know, it's easy to spam these things because essentially if you want to look at these stats pretty much, they're essentially like musketeers but specialized against infantry instead of cav. Instead of having a bayonet to fight cav with, they have pierce armor and they have a charged grenade throw, which means they can obliterate infantry if they're not careful, pretty much. One thing I'll say though on Sask's side that's really going to help him out here is the fact that he went with all shock units, all cav units. And you might be asking, why is this a cav unit? This is a guy on foot. No, this is actually like almost like an Eagle Runner Knight, but part of the assault tag instead of the maneuver tag. See, in Wars of Liberty, we call light cav maneuver units, right? We don't call them light cav, we call them maneuver units. And those are essentially all your dragoons. There's a class of cavalry called the assault cavalry, which is essentially heavy cav with hand armor, and it's good against infantry. So that's what these webs are. These are assault units. They got the assault tag, they have hand armor, and they have multipliers against infantry. So they're really good at spraying through groups of infantry, pretty much. And that's what makes them pretty strong, essentially. As you can see right here, they're going to do pretty good against Grenadiers because they don't suffer any multipliers from them. And recently the Grenadiers were nerfed a little bit so that their grenade throws do have a malus against shock units. So these webs are just going to be really good against those Grenadiers, pretty much. I call them Zwevs because that's what they used to be called, and that's essentially what they are. You know, the baggy pants, the sort of North African style of infantry, that's basically what these Louisiana Tigers essentially are. It's a different variant of American Zwevs, pretty much. It's what you can call them if you want to call them that, you know. Otherwise you can call them the Louisiana Tigers, which I think is just a longer name to say. It doesn't reflect most of the history of the WoW mod, really. They move very fast since they're shock units, you know, 5.5 speed. And they just do really good at shredding apart infantry like this. Kind of the perfect unit to do against flankers, I think. You know, the flankers can try to be obnoxious and try to kite you with their longer range and movement speed, but the Tigers can keep up with them and shoot them really hard with their multipliers. So it definitely gives them a lot of trouble in that sense, really. Like look at all the webs that Saska's made here. This is completely denying Cappy from going any forward with these Shigumas and Kies at this point. And Durkais is barely even throwing anything down at this point. He's only moving out one barracks, and he has like one stable now too. Like one barracks and one stable, I think is not going to deal with these Tigers very easily. You know, he's going to have to come up with something to deal with them. Going for the age up right now with the Post-Impressionist, which I believe, if I recall, gives you... I think it gives you a coin, right? Or it gives you a ship. Gives you a shipment or something. I can't remember. Basically, the Post-Impressionist is basically Vincent van Gogh, pretty much, in the icon, but I forget what he does. I haven't done Dutch in a while. I think from what I recall, it's a powerful politician option, though. Which will give Der Kaiser a pretty good boost. Let's see what it is out of this town center here. What did he get? What did he get for that shipping? Oh yeah, yep, I got it right. It was XP crates and I think coin crates is. It was XP crates. Yeah, this is from his 700 coin shipment there. Yeah, so he has to pick that up though. That's sort of the problem when you don't manage your home city situation that well. You kind of forget that you have your shipments on the front lines, and you can actually make it so that your enemies can grab the crates, which is really not a good thing, you know. So always be careful of that. That's why Definitive Edition ended up creating 2 different sets of shipment gather points, one for military, one for eco, for that reason. So players wouldn't accidentally ship their crates to their enemy on the front lines with their Daimyo or whatever. Which I've seen people do in Wars of Liberty, you know. During the Liga B especially I saw that. But I also saw some instances from Liga A as well. So it's kind of something that everybody unfortunately does. In the heat of the moment, pretty much. Hussars are going to be a bit of a problem here for these Tigers, you know. Certainly these Hussars have a lot of HP and Pierce armor, so they can survive a bit better against these Tigers, though. But at the same time, the Tigers have hand armor, so they're not necessarily taking 30 damage from them, you know. They can survive for a little while against these things, and they can sort of go tit for tat a little bit, depending on what the numbers are. But yeah, going Veteran Hussar is probably the appropriate way to go for Der Kaiser in this situation. Your ally, Cappy, is most likely going to be going with infantry since he's Japan, so it's a really good pairing to go Scout Cav Hussar. When I say Scout Cav, I basically mean things like Hussars pretty much. Whereas something like a Cuirassier would be Assault. Things that are lighter than that, like the Hussar, would basically be considered Scout, right? So yeah, Scout units are not good against heavy infantry, but Assault Cavalry are good against heavy infantry. So that's sort of the big difference between the two, really. Also, Scout Cavalry don't actually suffer from range multipliers from Dragoons usually. So they're actually more immune to Dragoons. Can't say the same about Assault Cav, though. They're really weak against Dragoons, since they suffer from those multipliers, and they have hack armor, so they don't even have much armor protection against Dragoon shots, making them very weak against them, really. I think that's the biggest sticking point, I think, for newer players in Wars of Liberty, is they just don't understand the difference between Assault and Scout, and it really messes them up. And then they start talking on, you know, whatever forum or Discord about, oh, this is OP, I don't know how to deal with this. And then I explain what the difference between the tags are, and they're like, oh yeah, oh, now I understand what it is, you know. And then they figure it out, and all is good. Now, I'm a little bit worried for Hishe here. What's going on? You got 4 barracks here, and you got no protection against these Hussars here. Why aren't you defending your homeland? What's going on with you, good sir? You gotta defend that thing. You only get one. You only get one colony, and then when you abandon that colony, you don't get any other colonies. At least until the next game. He's got some Alpini, actually. The difference between Alpini and regular skirms is the Alpini have extra range. They have a range of about 24, whereas a normal skirm has a range of about 20. These Alpini, therefore, are pretty much Italy's take on the sniper, pretty much, in terms of like having a hyper-ranged infantry. And then instead of Dragoons, they have the Bersigliers here, which are basically a foot infantry version of the Dragoon. Their hand and range stats are quite different from Dragoons, and they do actually lack multipliers against artillery. So if you're planning on using you want to use maneuver to take out cannons, the Bersiglier is not a good option for that. They're much better suited against things like Assault class and the Scout class, pretty much, when they're in melee. But as you can see, they already have a pretty infamous range attack at this point, because Hishe has gotten all the card upgrades for them, pretty much. And once he gets them up to guard at some point, these Bersiglieri are going to be pretty powerful. Also, this big army of line infantry here. Hussars are going to go for a bit of a raid, successfully taking out 2 of the merchants. Are they going to take out more of the merchants? Doesn't look like it. Town center taking out a Hussar. Bersigliers should be able to get another one down. TC taking out another Hussar. So that raid is basically gone at this point. Yeah, this is when I get a little bit scared against Mexicappi's Japan is when he gets the Morotaros out. Yeah, you remember these nasty things, the Morotaros? These things that you can train right out of your Gensui here and ship. Oh yeah, these things are very scary indeed. Mortars right on the front lines. Gotta love that. Like, this fort is actually completely toast now because of it. It's really not much SAS can even do about it, unfortunately, which is completely sad and sad, basically. Sad and sad. He's gonna ship 4 more of them. This guy's a maniac. 8 mortars against 1 poor Sasky Sask. That's not good. That's not nice. Don't treat your friends like that. You don't make 8 more tower against them. You make 4. Actually, you don't make any of them. You fight them the old-fashioned way. Yeah, that's... we'll see how they do with defense, though. This should be pretty interesting. We'll see how it goes, actually. We'll see how it turns out in this case. This is like the worst day of being a civilian in history. Like, look at how far they have to... Whoa. Look at how far these refugees have to get away from these war crimes. Look at this. Look at this war crimes. Using actual cannonballs to take out civilian... Wow, look at these... Wow. A whole entire firing squad. Ugh. This is definitely an execution by firing squad. Look at that. And by slicing Hussar squad. And shooting cannon squad. Yeah, that's what I was talking about at the start of the game. This swamp is killer to you if you don't have any defense, right? If you have a bunch of villies out here trying to eat the animals and the trees and stuff, and they're not careful, they can get completely roasted out there in the swamp, and there's not much they can do in terms of defensive structure since they can't build out there. You know, even if you build like on the island here a little tower or something, they can burn that down. Then you're still basically cornered. Now, what I'm wondering is, what is Hisei going to do now? Because it seems like he's going to have to defend himself for a while here, since it seems like Sasuke's going to have his very own problems real soon with these Morotaros, which it already looks like he is. So Hisei's going to have to come on top here, I think, and save himself for a little while. Until, you know, Sas might be able to clean up that situation on aisle 5. Now, this is an unfortunate situation for Hisei. This fight occurs just before he probably wanted to get the guard line infantry upgrade to give himself a little bit of an edge. So he's fighting on a little bit more equal footing right here, which he probably doesn't want to do at this point. But I think he can clean this up because these Cuirassiers should be able to... yeah, he probably should have just kept shooting him, honestly. Kind of a fault on Hisei's part. He shouldn't have, you know, moved the infantry all the way up there. That's fine. I mean, he's going to clean this up. I think he's just going to try to mass out a bunch of line infantry and try to get the guard upgrade as soon as humanly possible to get the improved stats. Once he's get up to guard, these line infantry are going to be pretty daunting to deal with. Trying to defend with Specialist Louisiana Tigers, very underwhelming here, especially with such a large mass of Gunto Riders that the Arnold upgrade. These hand cav are just really too daunting to deal with these assault units right now. Has some Yuans from the home city though to try to deal with them, but that's not going to work. Sure, they have a big hand attack, but they're not going to last too long. They're kind of going to get split apart and destroyed at that point. Yeah.
Signore.
Yeah, at this point, just takes all his forces back to Hisei's base to mount a sort of final defense over there. I think the big threat's going to be this Japanese army, though. Most definitely. Guard line infantry. This line infantry are pretty upgraded at this point. Just picking up plantation upgrade number 2. So yeah, I think it can handle Derkaiser without a challenge, but it's the Mexicali threat to the south that's going to wipe them out. Just because of how nasty the Japanese army is when you're dealing with it, you know. Not only are they very numerous and very well upgraded, but you got the boostings from the Gensui around them, basically supporting them even further. And then you're going to start getting shelled in the back by the Morotaro here, which is definitely not going to help out very much. Yep. Yeah, the nail in the coffin right here. Look at it. Yep, here's all the villagers. Just broke open the villager pinata, and he's going to grab all the villager candy and eat it all right now. In real time. There we go, folks. A good GG from Cappy and Kaiser there. Good economy from Japan. Japan always has an exceptional economy. The shrine economy in Japan just gives them a really good edge overall. Since he started the game with Toshuga Shrine, that was an even bigger booster for him. Yeah. Yeah, Hisei is always pretty economic, though. That's why, you know, his stockpile of food and coin was, especially the food, was just really good. And when it came to military, Japan just took the cake and ate it too. That's normally what you can't do. You can't eat your cake, have your cake and eat it too, but Japan cannot always do that. And that's exactly what happened here. It was just phenomenal. Most definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna close out the game now, and we're gonna boot up game number 3 now. Close this, and then we're gonna open up game number 3. You find game number 3 here. It's loading right now. Here we go. These nice Bolivian Colorados marching through the Andes. Let me find what game 3 is before we check out chat again. Let me find it in Discord here. So the next game is called Durkap versus... No, not that one. It was Fertile Crescent, Cap Sass versus Jeff Lars. That sounds like a pretty interesting one, you know. That seems like actually a very well-balanced team, honestly. You know, Jeff is probably like the most godly player in the Wars of Liberty community we got besides Alucard. And even though Lars isn't the most toughest opponent, I think Jeff balances him out really well. So I think doing that one's going to be really, really good. Likewise, Cap is very skilled. And Sasuke's, you know, Sasuke's more middle of the road at this point. You know, he's not MVP level, but he's also not Liga B level either. Definitely knows how to build a good economy for sure. Let me see what that game is called. It is called Cap Sask. Alright, so check in the K area. K Boomer. Here we go. This one. Lakota. Wow, that's spicy. That's a spicy chicken sandwich. Oh, Prox Warrior is back. Any news about Festive? Yeah, still looking for a moment of time to be able to get the Twitchy and challenge in, as well as the other scenarios you put in there. Oh, also I made a song about Orno the Wolf with Suno in its Mongolian, Old Norse, and Modern English. Oh, that's a good combination of languages to do. Definitely looking forward to that one for sure. Yeah, I also want to try out today. I saw this cool mod for Age of Empires 1, Rise of Rome, like the old version they still use in Vietnam. So I definitely want to try that out as well. In terms of like the old classic AoE mods for sure. Getting back to this match though, we got a Lakota Cap allied with Sask. I'm assuming Unanites. India, yep, Sask does play India, so that's not too much of a surprise. Jeff playing the Mapuche. He has a very strong Mapuche from what I recall, and then Lars is playing Danish. You know, Lars talked to me the other day about the Danish. He says he really likes the Danish because he likes how well they upgrade their skirmishers. You know, he really found it really cool how essentially Danish is the only civ in Wars of Liberty that can get double counter infantry rifling. They can research it at the arsenal and then get a booster that doubles its effect later in Age 4. Which essentially means the skirmishers of Danish are actually some of the strongest in the game because they deal 4x against heavy infantry, which is really unheard of in majority of the units in this game. You know, you mostly see skirms with 3x against infantry, but not 4x. That is like really disturbing to think about, you know. Gives you nightmares at night, pretty much. In terms of the map, though, it looks like we're looking at the Fertile Crescent here. The cradle of civilization itself, Mesopotamia. Got the Tigris and Euphrates rivers here. Between the area where the two rivers meet, you got the Fertile Crescent, pretty much. And in this little Fertile Crescent of yours over here, you got some natives. You know, you got some Sufi natives that have access to the war elephants, pretty much. And if you get outside of the Fertile Crescent into the desert over here, technically, you got some trade routes here. You know, you got one trade route that goes from here to here. Then you have another one that goes from here to here, pretty much. These two areas. And let's begin. This is definitely a very fun map. I like this one. I like how it's really split into 3 sections here. You got this one here, and then this one over here. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this one for sure. Yep. So in general, I think Mapuche under Jeff, this is probably one of the more fun civs in Wars of Liberty. Well, they're all fun civs, but the Mapuche civ definitely stands out because of one main fact. The main fact is Mapuche don't have a deck. Mapuche don't have a deck. They don't have cards. All their cards belong at these war chiefs here, these explorers, which essentially means you can actually send every card that the Mapuche get in a single game, which, you know, you thought Black Dragon was bad making those, like, OP 40 card decks and stuff. Mapuche, they could send literally every card they have access to between 6 different war chiefs that they get. 5 that they start the game with, and then they get a mounted one afterwards, which has even more cards. So I mean, it's the only civ where having more than 25 cards is legal, I guess. Put it that way. Yeah. Imagine forcing a Mapuche player to only use 25 cards the whole game. Because, oh, it's not fair. I only have 25 cards. You can't do that. Yeah. And what's scarier, too, about the Mapuche is if you get, like, multiple shipments at the same time, and depending on what mechanics that you're playing on with the Nats and stuff, you can ship multiple cards at the same time, as long as they belong to different war chiefs, right? You can get a villager card from this war chief, get infantry at another one, get cav at another one, and then get like some sort of eco upgrade at another one. And it just stacks up pretty quickly, you know. And yes, they do actually get some infinite shipments as well. You know, they get the 300 resource crate shipments, and then they get some infinite shipments around the emergency unit, the Mawadanche, as well, which is actually really strong, and really not much of an emergency unit at all, since it actually doesn't lose HP, making it basically a demigod unit, really. So yeah, lots of stuff with Mapuche. A big contention for this treasure here of 320 XP. If you let the Mapuche get this, they're going to really jump ahead here. And that's why we see these very stinky elephants here trying to save this treasure from these Mapuche war chiefs. They have to get away, though, because this priest here can condemn you to eternal damnation in hell. So you have to be very careful. See what this nasty priestess is gonna do. She's gonna condemn this poor endangered rhino to hell in real time. Doing the priestly move once you step your foot. Oh, yep. His soul is damned forever in the lake of fire. Horrible way to go. And then Danish finishes off the last one with his anti-treasure guardian attack. Lars ended up grabbing the 320 XP. Oh, that's pretty powerful, actually. You know, this is especially because the Danish essentially can ship 2 cards in Age 1 very quickly. That's because at the start of the game, Danish gets experience crates in front of their town center, giving them access to an early shipment, and then they reach their shipment number 2 pretty quickly then as well. And then because he got this treasure here, this basically means he's probably going to get 3 shipments out of this age. 1 if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Did he actually send any of them yet, though? Doesn't seem a whole lot like it yet. How many bills has he got? He's got 11. There's no telling right now how many cards he's got. He's going to age up right now with the Alliant Core Master. The only Civ in the game where the Core Master is still called the Quartermaster because the devs don't want to have to redraw these politicians all again with the new ones. And yeah, I'm sure during the Danish rework, which will happen at some point in the future, they will give them like new enlightened politicians and stuff. But that's not going to be for a while. Like that, you know, they really want to do Middle East Civs first, like the Afghans and Uzbeks and Saudis and Persians first. And I totally agree with that. That's what I want them to do. I don't want them sitting there worrying about the Danish. You know, if you want Danish, go buy a cheese Danish, go buy an apple Danish, go buy a raspberry Danish, even a strawberry Danish. Just don't wait for the Danish rework. Just get a Danish. Because Danish is very delicious and sweet. And you know it too. You must love Danishes. Yep, Rian Prox Warriors stuff about history songs being there. I make songs with authenticity, so I made medieval songs in languages of the time period. I just noticed Linkin Park has 2 new members. Ooh, oh, who likes Linkin Park? You know, I mean, I think they're pretty good. They're pretty good artists. Does anybody like Linkin Park? Yeah, I don't think I've heard them for a while though. Should check them out again at some point. What's this Indian deck? So the Indian deck is looking pretty... It's sort of standardish, I think, you know. Certainly missing the Tiger Claw shipment I really like. Certainly missing the Mahout shipments I really like, but I think he's got enough upgrade cards, which is totally good, you know. He's got Camel Attack, Desert Terror, ones for the Ellies. I think this is reasonable for SAS to go with. And how about Cappy? What's he's going with? He's going for... I think for Wars of Liberty's sake, this is probably a very good deck. You know, you do actually get the infinite Bison shipments in Wars of Liberty, which you only get otherwise in Definitive Edition. And this can be very good for you. You know, you combine it with cards like the Great Hunter, which you got here, which... Unfortunately, this Great Hunter is not cool like the one in DE. It just acts as like a basic upgrade. It doesn't give you any food right to your inventory thing over how many hunts you got. Nothing cool like that. It just gives you 20% better gathering and hunting. But that's besides the point. Gonna start out with Axe Rider rating. That's totally very strong. These Axe Riders get a lot of damage in, you know. Yeah, they're just like a really good rating unit, I find. 35 hand attack. Yeah, that's very big. Very big to deal with. Probably going to try to cut off as many of the Jeff villagers as possible, I can imagine. It looks like Lars might lose this volunteer shipment, though, if he's not careful here. Looks like he shipped out about 8 volunteers. These volunteers will be volunteering for their certain death if they're not careful. You know. Basically, in terms of stats, volunteers are the same thing as crossbowmen in Definitive Edition, except they're wielding rifles instead of crossbows. That's really just about it. They got the same multipliers, same HP, same attack, same all of that, really. How much res has Jeff got? Oh, Jeff is going FF. And then he just shipped in about 700 wood. So he's going to be trying to build some more Rukas very quickly. Rukas are just Mapuche houses that double as native embassies. Yeah, it supports 20 pop and lets you train native units you're allied with at them, really. It also has a big button there too that makes native warriors cheaper. Yeah, that's one of the side perks of the Mapuche is they get a lot of nice native related cards, you know. Especially one that gives them really good upgrades on their native warriors. I think it improves native warrior stats by like 45% or something. Back in the old days it was like really tough, you know. I don't know if it's the same rate. It's like this Mapuche fist with lots of colors like blue and green and stuff. It does a lot of stats improvements to their native units. Looks like the volunteers are going to volunteer to die now to these axe riders. Wow, Cap let him get away with that. Woo! Cap is not. Oh, he's circling around. I spoke too soon. He's going to chase after him now. But here are the Lansoldatars, though. The really weak but very spammable Danish musketeers. Yeah, these Landsoldats are a pretty strange unit for those not used to them. If you look at their cost, they only cost 50 food and only 15 coin. But their military stats are very weak. 14 ranged attack, 8 hand attack, 100 HP. They're basic. I think they're even weaker than like the Russian musketeers are. They have to be, I mean. But they're also more spammable, I think, than they are too. So, I mean, it works out in multiple ways, I guess. Also, Mapuche will be going with the Trengalaths here. These are basically another form of assault unit, you know, just like we saw ranged assault in the last game with the Louisiana Tigers. These are more of a melee form of them. And as you can see, they have a 2x multiplier here against infantry. And their base attack is 15, so they deal 30 damage against like skirms and muskets pretty much. So very strong actually. And since they're assault, they have hand attack instead of pierce, so they actually can survive a little bit against bayonets, making them pretty good against that class of unit. When they outnumber them, though, you know. One thing I noticed before when I was fighting up against Adri before, when he was Argentina, was if you're not careful and you try to attack a large group of like musketeers with Trengalaths, they will overpower you because of their range shots. You know, that's the one thing you don't realize when you go after someone with the hand assault units is the musketeer player can usually get an advantage that they can kite you with the ranged attack of the musketeer pretty much. You know, they'll take advantage of the fact that you don't have pierce armor and deal full on damage to your unit. And it doesn't matter how much HP they get, once they get a certain ball of musketeer type units rolling. You know, that's enough for them to take out one cuirassier or a sculta at a time pretty much. That's sort of why the honor guards of the Balkan civs like Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, those are why the honor guards are just a cool assault unit. Is they don't suffer from that because they actually have like 30% pierce armor on top of 30% hack armor, so they can deal with the kiting of musketeers relatively well. You know, not as well as a skirmisher does against a hussar, but quite well for what it's considered, really. Larv sending out a team shipment to his ally there, improving everybody's infantry attack. Very good move. Has the early artillery card, but I don't know if he's going to use it or not. Yeah, this can be a pretty good card. Yeah, basically what it does is it basically gives you access to falconets in Age 2. Yeah, that's a mouthful. Falconets in Age 2. Those big bulky cannons that blast apart infantry, making them in Age 2. Yeah, they do get slightly nerfed in Age 2. They like reduce their stats a little bit, and then they regain those stats when you hit into Age 3. Just so they're not too OP, they're not too OP to deal with. As you can imagine, about like 4 or so Shadow Veteran upgraded Falconets in Age 2 would just be way too bonkers to deal with, right? Yeah, most definitely. So they have to be a little bit nerfed on their stats until they get up to the proper age.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at this side attack by Jeff here. Tralcatufes, Wakelafs, and Trangolafs. Basically all the Warhide units of Mapuche all in one. Yeah, but Lakota are going to be trying to fight back with their Rifle Riders and their Axe Riders. Yeah. Basically what a Tralcatufe is, it's a Mapuche skirmisher, but it has pretty high hit points, They're pretty durable for a skirm, Most skirms don't have that much HP, but the Tralcatufes do. And then the Wakelaf is just a basic spearman, pretty much. So really good against any mountain unit, really. As you can see here, the Wakelafs are going to try to do as much damage as they can to the mountain units. The Rifle Rider is doing quite well against the Trangolafs because they are a maneuver unit. So they have multipliers against the Trangolafs, That's the one problem with going with dismounted assault units is they naturally have lower HP than the mounted forms of assault units, and thus these multipliers on the Rifle Riders and other Dragoons really hits them hard and can sometimes even take them out in one shot, depending on how much the upgrade gap is. Certainly depends in that sense, how it's going to end up, really. So where do they go from here, though? It seems like Cappy was able to resist that attempt, but what did the Danish and the Mapuche do at this point to go for another push? Yeah. And what's India up to as well? Because it looks like India ended up going with the greedy economy setup here, going for the Karnamata. Went with Grove Sowers. Oh, very interesting. We don't always see this. Going for the mango groves here. Yeah, basically this can be good if you're lacking wood on a map as India, because it essentially gives you some mango groves which you can gather wood from. It's sort of like a copy of what Japan gets with the food with the cherry orchards. And yeah, it can be a pretty good lifesaver, especially considering your villagers cost wood, so if you don't have any trees, you can't make any more of them. And it also obviously affects your ability to make certain elephant units, like the Siege Elephant, the Mahout as well, which also cost wood too. So it's different aspects of why having mango groves might be good or bad, depending on the situation. I'm just wondering what India's going to do here to support Cap in his push here. Coda seems to be fully loaded right now with a lot of stuff. You got bow riders, you got rifle riders, axe riders. Well, it looks like the axe riders are gone. It's mostly just maneuver and skirmish now because they see the Wakina rifles here too. But it seems like at the same time you got Mapuche going full Tralcatufe, and this is a really good hard counter to what Cap is doing. The thing about the Tralcatufes is they have higher HP than the Wakinas do, and thus they'll shred them, and then they'll also shred all those mounted maneuver units, with their anti-maneuver unit multipliers being skirmishers themselves. I mean, this is probably gonna go against Cap if he doesn't change the comp a bit. He doesn't get some sort of like Axe Rider, maybe even some of the Dog Soldiers. in his mixture there. Something he definitely should probably consider doing. Because if he goes full Tralkatufe, you're going to have some serious problems there on that front. Really big problems. Oh, it looks like Sasquin FI actually. I see he's getting the tame elephants here. And professional. Did he get the tame elephants yet? Yep, he got the tamed elephants, he got the elephant combat, now he's getting the professional handlers. So he's probably going to go for mass Howdah, I think. He's got Mahouts here, and then he's probably going to make Howdahs. I've seen him go Howdah before. And that might be a good idea, you know, especially with the professional handlers here. I just don't think it's going to be good against this comp here, because you got Jeff doing Tralkatufe, and then Lars even has skirmishes of his own. So any sort of maneuver, I just don't like how both Cap and potentially Sask are all going maneuver against a skirmish-based army. It's just a really bad idea. You know, now you got some of the Mawadanches in there from shipments. These things are really beastly. Look at these stats. 42 times 1.5 against maneuver. This is going to be really frightening to deal with for these mountain units. The only sort of one that actually has some like pushback against them is actually the Rifle Rider. That is because, well, actually no, they don't. They used to have, didn't they used to have like hack armor? They don't now. You know, they have pierce armor, but they do get multipliers against the Mawadanche since they are considered like a partial skirmish unit, right? Yeah. In the old days, Rifle Riders had the heavy cap tag, which equated to the assault tag now, but the devs decided, because it's like a range attack and it sort of resembles a skirmisher almost, they decided to give Rifle Riders and other units similar like the Texas Ranger a tag of skirmish instead of assault. So you actually can no longer take an army of dragoons and shred through Rifle Riders. You actually have to use you would actually have to get something like an anti-skirm to really exploit that, which not a lot of civs get, but not a lot of the civs actually get anti-skirms. A couple more civs though do get things like Lanceros, Sawars, you know, Gunter Riders. They do get multipliers against the skirmish class, so in that sense, those scout units which would normally not be recommended against maneuver actually can really bother maneuver. You know, both being scout and surviving those range attacks that they wield on and dealing the proper multiplier damage on them too. Yeah, lots of stuff like that just stacking up, really. Picking up the Shilivji Tactics. It's a really good card that really mostly benefits India, because normally 5% is not a lot of, you know, stat improvement, but for India, with their elephant units, because they just have such a high base range attack and HP, 5% is really big for them, you know. Unfortunately for Cap, the base range attack of the Rifle Riders is not that big, so it's not like their range attack will get too big from it, but their HP might get a little bit bigger from it. Yeah, the Bow Riders have a little bit more damage. That's because they're like normal maneuver units, you know. Normal-ish, you know. They're not the standard Dragoon. They fit the Crab Archer archetype. The difference between Cav Archers and Gunpowder, like Cav in Wars of Liberty especially, is the Cav Archers will have hack armor, whereas the Gunpowder ones will have pierce armor, basically. Not always the case, but most of the times it's the case. Putting up a town center right here, it looks like. Bit of map control on Cap's part. Take over one of the sides of the wonderful rivers that created the cradle of civilization over here. Awesome. Very awesome. Love the compliments there, Cab walking on a carpet. We always love very enthusiastic fans of our streams. Come anytime you want, you know. We're always streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays. And trust me, this stream is far from over. We got a lot more games that we could potentially do today, so a lot of stuff for the viewers to enjoy, which is always really phenomenal when we have all those games to work with. So it's going to be Partisan. Why Partisan? Why Partisan from Lars? Why Partisan? My concern with Partisan is the Danish ones don't get Guard or Imperial upgrade. So they're going to fall flat against these Industrial Age opponents that you deal with right now. You should definitely keep going Skirmisher and playing off of that thing that you told me about. The idea of having the 4x multipliers against infantry with the double advanced arsenal set up. That is a good way to do this. You definitely don't want to be making pikes. You know. Sask is most likely to be doing Mahouts, so those are going to be really splashy types of hand cab that might just stomp on all these pikemen very easily, you know. For a big elephant and his thick hide like that, these little veteran pikemen are not going to sting too much, you know. It's be like really mild ant bites, pretty much. A couple of protective skirms over here. Sound the alarm, like it. Jeff picking up a mine over here with the town center, so if somebody does try to raid here, he does have the town center for a little bit of cover. The one thing you gotta be aware of, though, when you're dealing with Lakota is this thing here, the good old fire pit. And one of the dances that the Lakota get at the fire pit, as you know, is the siege dance, noted by a torch. And they take their normal unit siege, and it buffs it up by like 50 or so %, you know, and it turns everything from their hand units to their range units into building destroying machines, basically. And the reason why Lakota gets that in this game, and as well as the Legacy game, is basically they don't get artillery, right? Even Lakota and Definitive Edition don't get artillery, right? The best they get is like captured mortars, right? So the only way you can emulate the sieging power of artillery in the Lakota Civ is through the siege dance, pretty much. And beefing up all your infantry and cav to have that same siege energy as any mortar or petard or anything like that normally would. I like SAS doing the middle map control here with all these caravanserais. This is a really good play by SAS. Because it means even if they lose the first push, they're going to be able to resupply it after that, which is just a really good strategy, you know. Some people just build back in the back of their base here, and they have to build all over again, right? And you give your opponent that much more ground to hurt you on your own turf, basically. But if you put a base right here, they're going to be competing for this area, and your home is more safe in the back, pretty much. At least the way I see it. Also a good idea by Cap to get the Mustangs now. Makes the Cav a little bit cheaper. You know, takes away some of those food and coin costs from them. Allowing you to get even more of them out. Native American commies are not the best in the game, I would say. So it's certainly good when you can make them a little bit cheaper. Yeah. This is a powerful counter to these Mahouts, though. The Winnetoofe is a pretty formidable Dragoon unit. You know, look at the size of its range attack. 48 range attack? That's like unheard of. But in turn, it's more expensive than normal, right? And it also fits sort of into that Cav Archer archetype since it does get hack armor. which means it's not really good when going up against other range units. It's particularly just really good for shredding through hand assault units like the elephants, like the Corsairs, all that stuff. Really. And now we see right now how the mass skirmish strategy works here. Lars with his big army of veteran skirms. Jeff with his big army of the guard Tralcatufes there, going up against all those elephants and so forth. Yeah, this should be pretty interesting how this turns out. Interesting. It seemed like Jeff was the big puller there with his Tralcatufes. Now we're going to have to see if Lars can recover it all, any sort of like army there, and help out. Whilst it seems like Sass tanking with the Howdas was actually really effective here, really. And is going to put some of the Mahouts in the front, use their splash attack and multipliers against the skirmish class to become a real threat, basically, you know. Like, look at this map here, basically. These Mahouts deal almost 100 damage with their hand attack, plus 2 splash on top of it, making them a really ferocious monster to deal with. On the Jeff Mapuche side, pretty much. Yeah, most definitely. Let's see here. Definitely awaiting a big fight here. Looking forward to it. Yeah, also elephants get good siege as well for all the pop that they cost. Like, look at them bun their big elephant heads against these buildings like the Siege Workshop. Took the thing out very quickly. Let's see here. What do we got today for this attack? Also, I like Lars taking this side of the river as well with his town center, so it seems like on the Jeff side, it seems like both sides are looking to spread out a bit and flower out and blossom out from Mesopotamia pretty much. On this side, it seems like Sask is grabbing the hunts over here, but not putting down any sort of defensive structure. So if Lars wanted to, or Jeff wanted to, they could just take some things like the Milanes down here and just raid them to death. You know, take out a huge contingent of the Sask economy doing that. Probably to the point of crippling them and making them have to use their Howdas very sparingly in that situation. Certainly, the Winnetufe are gonna deny these Mahouts from being a real serious threat, I think, but you never know. Certainly, mixing in these monks here is really obnoxious, you know, because there's a good chance these Winnetufes are gonna try to attack the explorers instead of the Mahouts. Give them a little bit more of an opportunity to become obnoxious. Yeah, it seems like he's moving a group of his stuff over here now. But now we see the Mawadanches, the good old emergency unit with their blast throwing ability. These things are going to shred through the elephants, I believe. That's right, because they have pierce armor, yeah. Let's see. Now it looks like Lars' army is faltering a bit, now Jeff has to back up a bit. It's going to take out one of the Howdas, it looks like. Yep. One of those big beefy elephants is now gone. Lars coming back with some more skirms. Probably trying to slice his way through the Lakota stuff first. And then can work on the elephants next. Taking out that elephant now. Jeff has to be super duper careful making sure he uses all the Mawadanches to go after the elephants, you know. But also being wary of the Wakina rifles, which are still a problem here. A big mass of the Winnetufes as well should be pretty good. Doing about 48 or so range damage, can be pretty decent here as well. I kind of wish he would take his Mawadanches and come on this side and take out these elephants now. that could be pretty useful for you to get these things eliminated. Yep. Taking out that one. Taking out this one. Yeah, so he's eating his way through the elephants. I think that's the most important job here is the Howdah prom. But then you got the Denali's guns coming from the Ottoman consulate now. The good old Great Bombards. That could be a problem. Here the pikemen are doing a little bit good. The Lars pikemen actually shredding through the Howdahs, so kind of underestimated them a little bit there. Yeah. Let's see what they do against the Bombards, though. I think it depends how many of these elephants they can keep wiping out. If they can take out the rest of these Ellies, and they can put up a amount of decent defense against these Axe Riders, I think they might be able to force them back somewhat. But now he's going to take the pikemen onto the front to deal with the Ellies. Here, taking out another elephant, but missing the Axe Rider. Now you have to back up once again to deal with the Axe Rider prom. You got to get these Mauadanches out of here, though. Because see, if you don't, then they're gonna... Oh, getting that. Ah, they're taking out the elephants, so that's the most important target. Now you just have to get through the Lakota army, and I think Jeff can keep stalling here as much as he needs to. Oh, Jeff's running a bit low on steam and resources, though, so I mean, he's gonna have to plan this really carefully and make sure that he's not getting into the range of these cannons now. And hope that Lars can keep offering a bit of a meat-shielding distraction here against the... Yeah, see, now he has to be super micromanaged with how he's doing these fights now. Making sure he targets down one Mahout at a time. I almost took that one out. All the while, Lars has to contribute a little bit of something. He's going to start getting some upgrade. Actually getting advanced arsenal upgrades on the skirm line. But here comes the Boca Fuegos. I think Jeff is going to try to end this right now by taking out these cannons with the Boca Fuegos here. These are basically Native American culverins, but they cost food and wood instead of the normal wooden coin. But unfortunately, they get caught up by the Mahouts. But fortunately, they get distracted by the Explorer there, and Jeff is able to take him out from a safe distance. Perfect. If Sask ends up throwing these Bombards, I think Jeff wins this here. Because it's these Bombards, which is the only measurable threat that I can see here, potentially crushing them here. So. But you gotta be careful, you gotta line a good formation here to get rid of Axe Riders. You gotta do that, and it looks like the Axe Riders do cut their way through now. Now the Boca Fuegos have to retreat. Got some war huts here to try to do a bit of cover fire, taking out one Axe Rider, but now it's getting a little dicey, you know. It's getting a little dicey here. Let's see what these Truck of Two-Face can do. They're trying to get into a good mail. Oh no, but then the dog soldiers come in. Yeah, these nasty Lancers. These are also an assault unit. This is fatal here. The dog soldiers makes it fatal. Because you can't fend for long against these hand units that have 3x against infantry. Actually, no, it's not 3x, it's 1.5x, but still, we're talking like over like 70-80 hand attack, really. And for whatever reason, if Lakota were to get to an imp age anytime soon, those would shadow tech right into even more stats. Trying to do Boca Fuegos, but it's just too many mounted units getting in the way now. Oh, but doing some Wake laughs though to deal with the mounted. It's getting a little bit dicey here though. Lars is going to try to attack with one Culverin. Not bad. Yeah, he only got one shot out of it though. That's unfortunate. Oh, these are the Wakinas, so these are not allied. These are not friendly faces if you're the Mapuche. Yep, Jeff just resigned. The cap thing changed the game, changed the equation. I think Jeff just needed to get rid of the Bombards, and then it would have been a little bit better. But now the Cap was able to pivot to hand cav, it completely caught the whole operation off guard and destroyed it, really. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like resource-wise, Jeff did phenomenal, you know. One cool thing about the Mapuche is they actually have a really good late-game economy compared to most native civs. Mainly because a lot of their cards, like Furrier, Spice Trade, no, they don't get Spice Trade, they get Furrier, you know, the Ironmonger, Silversmith, all those. They basically affect plantations and farms as well, so they can actually get a good amount of upgrade cards, all things considered. Then they get Refridge, they get the Royal Mint, so I mean, Mapuche gets a really good economy, a really reasonably good economy. And they can get a good score out if they're very careful. And then when you look at the military side of things, Jeff had lots of resources here to make army. But just because of the types of units here, he only was able to get out like 148 kills here. Which even was underneath what Sass was doing with just a couple of Howdas and Mahouts, really, and Bombards. Lars, for all that spam they did, only killed about 25 units. 25 units. That's definitely not good. Not too good at all, really. Yep, most definitely on that one. Now I will close the game out and restart again into our fourth match of the night. We do that right now. Load it in right here. Here we go. Let me see what the forfeit coin is called right now. It is called El Viejo Combo. The Old Combo. Gringoland versus Central America on the Manchac. 1v1 by Rommel. This should be a pretty fun one. Me looking El Viejo. Is that what the match was called, the file? El Viejo Combo? 1 second, I'll just check this phone call real quick and I'll get that file on while I do that. continue now. I just found that game, El Viejo. Let me get that one right now. El Viejo Combo. Alright, I'll pause it right here. Show everything around. Alright, so it's going to be Rommel versus Sask. Nice. This is the same map I did against Sask, and he was in the same spot of the map with the United States. It's like deja vu all over again. I was in Central America, though. I was the Belgians, actually. But really funny to see the same map with Sask in the same map locations. Very interesting. Quite interesting, actually. Before we continue, I'm just going to put a light on real quick in this room. Light it up a bit. Getting dark, of course, in eastern United States. Alright, so let's check out the map again. Actually, we don't really need to check out the map too long because we've already gone over it, but I'll go over the basics again for you. So basically, this is Manchac. It's a swamp map. You got Seminoles down here, Seminoles up here. You got this big expansive swamp that goes mostly around this exterior over here. It can be really dangerous here to have your vills going after these hunts out here, mainly because you can't, and these mines as well, because you can't build on this swamp. So if somebody comes up here with like hussars or something, you're in deep trouble. You know, if you're trying to go through the swamp area, it's really dangerous. The only place you're probably a little bit safe is probably up here, really, because you could put some defense up there and wall it a little bit. And then you got a little bit more swamp down here as well that protrudes into the center. In the center here, you got one trading post that you can compete with your opponents for. Otherwise, you get your own trading posts on each of the sides respectively here, pretty much. So, let's get started and see how this one turns out. Basically, alright, so Central America is a Cid that we haven't seen yet today. They belong to the Latin American culture. They are really good at gathering natural resources, so that means hunting, berry gathering, mining, and wood chopping. They get that sort of a benefit in multiple ways. One way is through the carretero here, which can help the other villages here, which are called the jornaleros, basically gather quicker. And what the carretero does essentially is constructs more natural resources. So let's say you want to gather from berries here in all these hunts and they all disappear and you still want to cap on the benefits of your jornaleros. Well, lucky for you, the carretero can actually construct banana plants, which those villagers can start to gather from, you know. Hence the banana republic idea of Central America, right? Actual bananas, yep. And as far as coin is concerned, these carreteros can actually build whole gold mines as well. So a really long-lasting source of coin. Can also build tropical trees to help with wood, right? Yeah, and basically what makes these jornaleros really good at gathering the natural resources is basically the fact that they gather less from them while also gathering more from them, if that makes any sense. So basically, while a normal villager would be like taking 1 or 2 food off of this animal, this little turkey here, basically the villager itself is gathering at the same rate as the regular villager does, but it's taking less food from the animal, which means the animal will last longer, or the tree will last longer, and the mine will last longer. But the villager gets the same gathering benefit, if not more, from it as a result, because the villager sits there gathering for a longer period of time from a resource that would normally expire quicker with another vill. a very conservationist type of villa, I guess, in a way. You know, pretty much a very environmentalist type of villager. Gets the same, more meat out of the same thing, pretty much. And that could mean many different things, right? It could literally mean that it gathers slower from the animal. Maybe they eat the beak, they eat the teeth, they eat the bones, I don't know. Maybe they're Juanitos Locos or something, and they eat turkey feet or something. I don't know. Turkey feet. Yeah, that sounds really appetizing. Turkey feet. Would you eat turkey feet? I don't know if I'd have turkey feet. Sounds a bit strange to me, honestly. Yeah, pretty much. Very strange indeed. But most certainly, in all respects for really, most of the gameplay of Central America, I would say their economy is probably one of their stronger aspects. For sure. But they also get a weird, like, military roster system as well. They pick between 6 different rosters, as in 6 different countries of Central America. You know, you start the game out as a unified Central America, and then you devolve into these different republics, basically. Either Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Los Altos, or Nicaragua, basically. All of those. And you gotta sort of pick which roster you want. The thing that makes the rosters particularly good is each roster will have 1 Royal Guard unit. So what that means is, Central America, if they want to stick with 1 roster, and then you can change your roster as well through the town center, through a big bun that's over here usually, with the Juanito with the face palm pretty much, cringing over the how short the country lasted pretty much. You'll go back to the original union, and then you'll pick another civ. And you can get up to 6 Royal Guard units for Central America over the course of the game. You know, Escopetero, Conscripto, Machetero, Lancero, Dragon Rojo, which is a unique unit, and then the Escolta. The Dragon Rojo is a ranged cavalry. The difference between it and the Yanet, which is the standard Dragoon of the Latin Americans, is the Dragon Rojo has its multipliers inverse. So instead of having ranged multipliers against Assault, it has ranged multipliers against Scout. So it's one of the few Dragoons in the game that still has ranged multipliers against Hussars, and can actually go toe-to-toe with Hussars very well. Essentially giving Central America a really good way to combat Hussar spamming opponents very quickly. Yeah, it's pretty good. You know, it's pretty strong. Yeah, and something I should note to you, too, about Royal Guards in the game is the Royal Guards in the Latin American civs works a little bit different than they do in the European civs. Instead of 10% additional military upgrade stats, it gives you 10% discount, basically. So it makes it 10% cheaper, pretty much. Yeah. And another thing you'll see here, too, is the construction of this immigrant colony as well. And basically what it does is it gives you certain benefits, pretty much. Number 1, there's a special villager at this immigrant site that has a special perk. But beyond that special perk, they generally gather pretty slowly and pretty bad, you know. You mainly want to use these villagers for what they specialize in. In the case of this Polish colony, your villagers you get from it are called ranchers. They are good at gathering from herdables, but pretty bad at everything else. And one more little perk of them too is every time you train one of the Polish butchers from there, they also come with a free cow. Yeah, so if you got like a livestock pen to like put these cows that you get from the age up in there, you can get even more cows just by training more of the Polish workers pretty much. Goes with Honduras, it looks like. A very good, interesting option. Is it a Honduras deck, or it's called Bananeros? Interesting. Yeah, this card here is really important for Central America. It's called the Unionist Conference. Rejoining the Union is done much faster. Basically, it almost cuts down... Yeah, it really cuts down the time it takes to rejoin the Union so you can pick a different roster. Because if you don't go with this card, basically you get sort of stuck with the roster you got for a pretty long time. to switch to another one. And depending on what your opponent is doing and what units they're pivoting towards, you need to have your own pivot time to pivot to what they're pivoting at, basically. And if you don't have Unionists, it becomes really taxing, and you might actually die because you can't get to that new set of units you wanted soon enough, basically. Really what happens is every Central American roster, I believe, has about 5 units to it. Yeah, 5 units alone. Some are more cav-oriented, some are more infantry-oriented, and some are more of a hybrid, you know. Like, there's one that has all 4 of the cav units and just conscriptos is like the 5th unit. There's a totally infantry-based one that has all 5 infantry units. I think it's the Pardo, Machitero, Conscripto, Vivandera, and the basically Conscripto, basically. Yeah, Conscripto, Vivandera, Escopetero, Pardo, and Machitero, pretty much, yeah. Because apparently Central America doesn't get a normalish unique infantry. They do get an ultimate unit later that's an infantry unit, but as far as at the barracks and the stable, they only get 1 unique unit, which is actually pretty small for a Latam Civ, usually, you know. Latam Civs usually have a ton of unique units, but Central America doesn't get a whole lot. They sort of pride themselves on having more Royal Guards instead, and having their units be slightly cheaper as a result. So yeah, that's sort of how they run, pretty much. And the Dragon Row is really the main unique unit you're ever going to use, because the Catracho, which is the ultimate unit that Central America gets, is more of like a spy-like unit. It has multipliers against mercenaries, heroes, natives. So it's not like a common unit you're going to see a whole lot. You could potentially see it here because of the Seminole natives as a way to counteract that, but that's about it, really. Yeah. Looks like Rommel's going to be doing Machitero right now. This is one of the main options you can do for a Latin American Civ. These Machiteros, believe it or not, are another form of a assault unit. So they're actually a form of foot cavalry. What makes them different than, say, the Trangolaf we saw the last game is they have splash attack. So they basically slice through multiple bodies at once with about 1 splash. So pretty strong, you know, pretty strong in numbers especially. Sask is going to try to counter that with his light cavalry. I wouldn't recommend that, but what I would recommend, which he is doing, is training riflemen. This is a very good option. These are not ordinary musketeers by any means. These riflemen are a mid-game, since they're available in Age 3, version of the musketeer that the United States gets, which has ranged multipliers against assault units, and only assault units, but also has a bayonet attack that's good against all shock units. Well, not all of them, but only the assault ones, scout ones, and the maneuver ones, basically. But its best asset is attacking assault units at range, because if you look right here, it does about 63 ranged attack against assault units, and the Machitero really can only take 3 of those bullets before it dies. That's how serious it is. Like, having like 3 riflemen here is enough to one-shot a Machitero each time, basically. In that sense, Sask is doing like the perfect unit comp here to counteract that. Just a really good one overall. So, I mean, I think it's just a really good one at this point to be doing, actually. Quite solid. Quite solid indeed.
I'm ready.
Most definitely in that case. One of my history songs on Suno is called I don't know what that is. It's in Middle Gaelic and Middle English and Early Scot about Battle of Falkirk. That's pretty cool, actually. Pretty neat one. Definitely will check that out at some point. Again, back to the match here, we see some light cav. The light cav are not going to be a good use against these Machiteros, but the riflemen will be. Rommel's going to have to retreat from that. He's already lost one of his Machiteros, and he might lose another one. We'll see. Yeah, his best bet is probably getting closer to the town center here and taking a defensive stand around there, I would say. It's probably what I would do with that situation. Most definitely.
What is your command?
Training more riflemen, that's probably the way to go, I would say. Yeah, at this point you can just keep making riflemen. Yeah, you don't even really need to change anything else.
Yes.
If Rommel, for whatever reason, goes Escopetero, yeah, just add some more light cap in. You know, you already got 4 light cap to deal with skirmish, so yeah, just keep making the riflemen here, and you should be good. One more thing he's doing here to make it sweeten the pot a little bit more is getting the melting pot. You know, sweeten the pot, getting a melting pot. How perfect. And basically what melting pot does is it makes the units 5% cheaper, but also gives them 5% more attack and hit points. So units become slightly stronger, but also slightly cheaper as well. Which, you know, the stats upgrade isn't going to be a whole lot, but certainly shaving a few resources off of these very expensive riflemen is pretty good. You know, for all these riflemen do, they are pretty expensive, you know. Now they're cheaping down to 76 food, which is close to a musketeer, but the coin cost is still pretty high, 67 coin. For what it does, though, it's totally worth it, you know. The basics of a musketeer will also deal with the assault units really well. Because normally, musketeers are usually not the best heavy infantry against assault. It's usually the polearms, like the pikemen, that do better. Because pikemen get full shock multipliers, whereas these bayonet-wielding units only get limited multipliers against assault, which are normally lesser than the ones they get for scout and maneuver. Yeah, pretty interesting how that works out, pretty much. Also going to make some of the Texas Rangers. Yeah, that could be good. I mean, I think you're more or less overlapping with the riflemen a little bit, but yeah, I sort of get that one a little bit there. So yeah, I can sort of understand where that's coming from, teeny wee bit. Most definitely on that one.
Yes.
Yep, here's the Escopeteros that predicted from Rommel there, because he knows he's dealing with the massive rifleman. He's going to try to get some skirmish in to deal with that. Yeah, basically these Escopeteros are like the Latin Americans' answer to the crossbowmen, pretty much. Instead of being like a normal crossbowman style unit, the Escopeteros actually wield full-on shotguns, and thus deal a splash attack, sending bullets in multiple directions. It starts out with the splash of about 1, but eventually at the arsenal you can research a tech called buckshot, which gives them a splash of about 2, which, you know, means that their splash of bullets hits even farther than it normally does, giving them a pretty good reach with it.
Guns ready. All right. You got orders?
What is your command?
I'm ready.
Gonna be picking up the Polish mercenary army as well. About 7 Uhlans and about 10 Danubian immigrants. It's pretty good. Yeah, essentially the way the Anglophilies work is instead of having like normal mercenary cards, their mercenary cards involve shipping numbers of immigrant units instead of mercenaries. And from what I recall, the immigrant units that the Anglophiles get do shadow tech with each age up, which is pretty cool, you know. So they do become more useful as time goes on. So it's not like they stay at like the veteran level in age 3. They'll actually will go up to guard an Imperial upgrade, really, if you can keep them alive. Yeah. And that's the other thing I didn't mention about immigrant colonies from Latin Americans, is they can also give you battalions of units. Yeah. Basically how it works is you pay one shipment and you get a batch of like multiple copies of a unit. In the case of the Polish, it's called the Danube Legion, and it's basically one of those Western-style grenadiers. So they throw the grenade, they fire a musket for like 60 seconds, and then they throw a grenade again. So if you like grenadiers a lot, you like the Polish, basically. And some immigrants will have more units than others. Some can have up to 3 units, you know, like the German immigrants. They have like a culverin, they have a skirmisher, and they have like a Yuan, basically. The French, same way. They got like a polearm like that acts like the Doppelsoldater of Germany. They get a mounted like a Lancero or a Sawar style unit, and then they get like a mounted version. They get their own version of the Texas Ranger, pretty much. So lots of different options depending on what civ you are. Every Latin American civ can usually get only about 3 different types of immigrants, and they can sort of divvy up how they're going to do it with each age up, basically, because that's when you pick the immigrants is during age up. You can either get all of one type of immigrant, which grants you better rewards, or you can mix and match and go with multiple types of immigrants, which gives you lesser rewards, but you do get a larger variety of immigrant battalions and workers and houses in unison, basically. Like a little bit of everything, or all of one thing, or somewhere in between, you know. And there's some exceptions to that rule, like Gran Colombia, who can actually ship a German colony to their base pretty much. So even if you don't pick any immigrants, since they have a weird system, you can still get an immigrant, which is really cool. And Uruguay has this weird system. If you don't pick a particular immigrant, when it first appears in the age up options, it will be swapped out for another one in the next age up. So you can really get a kind of a mishmash of different things depending on what you're into, really. This Rifleman Texas Ranger combo is working pretty hard against Rommel. I think it's pretty foolish to go in after the line there with the Musketeros, though, because both Texas Ranger and Rifleman just completely shreds his assault units so easily there. Definitely wants to be careful of how he handles that. Yeah, these Macheteros again completely washed though. Really badly. But the Juanitas muy bonitas, las Juanitas muy bonitas vinitanderas here will protect the base with their Juanita Bonita-ness. Yeah, these are basically Latin America's version of the Skirmisher. The biggest thing you'll notice with these Juanitas Bonitas is they heal your allied units. So see that? The Juanitas Bonitas heal each other. So they're eternal Juanitas muy bonitas. They last forever and ever and ever. And isn't that great? Truly is. Truly a very great thing indeed.
Dígame, señor Tuani.
I'm ready.
Putting a fort right here in the centerpiece. That's probably a good place for a fort, actually, because it's pretty defensible. You know, you got these little choke points around it. Yeah. My question is, will, yeah, Rommel's gonna find out about this, and he's gonna... Juanita Bonita, see. Yep, took that out. Also, this train post. Yeah, that's a big blunder from Sask. Now is losing villages to the Musketeros. Why are they just standing there, though? They should be going Juanito Muy Loco on them right now. Oh, boy. Muy Loco. Lingo. See. Here comes more light cavi. Gonna get another batch of light cavi as well. Oh, here's some of the Dragon Rojos right now. Dragon Rojo. Good to get. These are gonna be really good against the light cav since these have the scout tag here. This is a perfect answer by Rommel to those, pretty much. I think now Sask is on the back pedal now, so he's got to come up with something here. What's kind of sad is that United States does not get a super duper reliable skirm until age 4 with the Confederate sharpshooter. Yeah, militia are certainly reasonable, but they don't really do well beyond age 3. So he probably could go militia for now, I guess. Could do some artillery. Maybe some artillery would be good here. Does he have like an artillery shipment? No, he does not. He does not. He only has like a rifleman shipment here and some more light cav. So he's kind of fallen into this Rommel trap, if you will. Because I think Dragon Rojo with Vivandera is the perfect answer against what Sask is doing here and against the United States in general. You know, the only sort of thing that Sask could do, depending on what his age of politicians were, he could go for the Louisiana Tigers if he has that. If he doesn't have Louisiana Tigers, then he could have some problems here. I don't think he's going to get much use out of the Sailor, out of the Levinex. We'll see if he does Louisiana Tigers, though. That could definitely be a good option here to deal with that.
Yes? Yes?
Adding in the Texas Rangers. I mean, at this point, I don't know. Yeah, this is going to be poor, though, for... yeah, Dragon Rojo's serious problem here. Like, look at the range damage they do to the light cap. It's like about 96, almost 100 damage to these light caps. Only about like 4 or so shots is enough to spray one of these down. I mean, obviously their pierce armor helps a little bit there, but not too good. You probably want to take these riflemen into melee here against the Dragon Rojo, so get them into melee, because then you're dealing about 45 attack against these, which, you know, is probably the best as you're going to get here. It's coming down to civs at this point. USA's roster is just not really well equipped to deal with this combo by Rommel here. You know, they were doing good at the start, but now with this new change in the makeup, it's basically beating down on Sask quite a bit here. To the point they probably is not going to be able to recover from this at all, really. Nah. We'll see, though. We'll see. Oh yeah, now he's getting the Louisiana Tigers. That's why he said that's probably what you're gonna want to go with here. I don't really see you going with really anything else good in this situation. Definitely not. Is he going for industrial age? See him like, is he gonna go? Is he gonna take a gambit and go industrial for sharpshooters? I think he is, but he needs coin for that. He's not mining anything. What are you doing? Get the market. Get some coin. Coin. Dinero. Dinero, Juanito. Si. Dinero. Si. All right. Whoa. Albert Pike, yep. He's going Albert Pike, so he's going for the sharpshooters. Alright, yeah. He's going for the sharpshooters. Sharpshooters could do really good wonders for him here. If Rommel is willing to let him go there, of course. And if he's willing to get distracted by this town center down here, potentially. Yeah, that could be really... Oh, but now he's got the Padreros, see? The Padreros, which are the Latin American mortars. Alright, so I think Sass can get to industrial age from here. And we'll see from there if Sass can do a complete turnaround with it. A complete turnaround potentially by doing that. That could be very powerful, I think. Yeah, we'll see though. We'll see if he can pull it off here. Let's see if it comes down over here. Yep, here comes the sharpshooters. Yeah, these are just really good units for this situation. Basically what the sharpshooters are, they're snipers. They're sharpshooters, they're snipers. They get about 28 range with their super range attack, and it deals about 98 damage with these really good multipliers, including multipliers against artillery. But it fires very slowly at that range. And then they get a normal range attack of like 56 with these smaller multipliers, except the one against artillery at like normal range, where they shoot at normal rate. So they're either sniping at hyper long range or they're shooting at like a more normal rate at the normal range. Your best bet is to put them as long range as possible to try to take super snipes on top of these maneuver units. As well as even these skirms, you know, these heroic Juanitas Bonitas here, Las Vivenderas. As these units come a bit closer, we'll see these sharpshooters start to shoot pretty well here. You know, get a really good range in there. We'll see though. This is not the way to do it though. He's caving pretty. He can't be moving his army as a whole there. He needs to get these sharpshooters in a good range. I mean, he can go for like the normal attack here, but it's just not recommended, you know. Do it a little bit more carefully there, myself. Yeah, probably I'd do it a little bit more carefully myself. Yeah, just way too slow a response by Sass. He should have already been queuing these things up, like, way before, you know. I think if he deployed a bit quicker here, he probably would have been able to counterattack this. I don't know what he would have done from there, though, because potentially he goes Meshitaro and cleans that up. But definitely a little bit of slow response from our Juanito here. He should have probably been a bit more rapido here against these Juanitos muy bonitas. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's like... Yeah, you got way too few units there. You're just really deploying very slowly here and giving Rommel the edge by doing that. Yeah, like, if you had, like, 2 or 3 racks queuing this up a few seconds before, yeah, you would be dominating against the stats of these Vivenderos, and you'd force Rommel into a different build at that point. And then you could sort of work piecemeal a group of riflemen and sharpshooters and then slowly push out and get some artillery. But when you do it this slow, it's just really not going to be fruitful for you to do it, really. So yeah, it's a pretty unfortunate situation here. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, looking at the post game, it's like, yeah, Rommel just did really good with his whole Nauro economy here and using the Karoteros to boost him up. He also had a good amount of the natural resource cards in his deck too, if we go back to it. That you can tell right away helped out, like the cochineal farming, the spice trade, the furrier. These all really made the banana bush gathering really good, which you see the Karotero did build here, some of these bananas here, which was phenomenal. And then in terms of military, just did a little bit better at the end and ended up pushing himself into the victory at that point. Quite impressive, actually. Quite impressive. So now I think I got time for one more game to do, so we're going to go do that one right now. I'll see which one that is. And then we'll cover the rest of them next week. Hopefully we'll have a bit of a longer stream next week. And of course, if you can add any more Castle games into the mix between now and then, we'll cover those ones as well. So I can do even more of them, really. Alright, so what's the last game we're going to do for the night? Let me see what it's called. It's called Blitzkrieg. It says it all right there, I think. Let's do that one. Blitzkrieg, jawohl! Yeah. Blitzkrieg, jawohl! Und Sklaven? Heimteam, in den Kampf. Yeah. Oh, so it's going to be a Blitzkrieg. Good old Germany. The Reich versus Varingo with the Peruvians. The Varingo Civ. Yeah, this should be a pretty fun one. We're looking at the Fertile Crescent once again, which is very fertile, and a crescent. The cradle of civilization, where the two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates, meet. And between these two rivers, you got a pathway where you got elephants, lots of war elephant natives, and then on the exterior, you got these other areas with mines and food that you can basically get over here. Which you can do, and you can actually wall it off pretty good with, you know, these sort of cliffs here. But yeah, then you have to worry about the trade route too. TP here, and you got one here. So this should be a pretty fun one. I want to get right into it and show this right away. Basically, Peru is kind of a weird Juanito Civ, you know. The way they work is whenever you kill one of their military units, the other ones run away very quickly, you know. It's like they have, Peruvian units have 200 IQ, I swear. It's like, as soon as they see one of their guys drop, the other ones start to sprint away really quickly to get out of the area. Or they get muy enojado, Juanitos enojados, when you kill one of their own, and they start to chase after you even faster. And they get like supervision as well. It's like they get big giant Juanito ojos in their cabeza, basically. Big eyeballs in their head when one of their guys dies, and they just, you know, they see farther away and they move faster, you know. But many psychologists and neurologists would argue that's basically the aspect of fight or flight response, right? When you get stressed out in a deadly situation, your hand or eye coordination improves, your vision improves, you're able to see farther away, and then you obviously gain more adrenaline to be able to run faster. So maybe You know, maybe the Peruvians just have better nervous systems than the rest of the world. Who knows? Varingo systems. Yeah, Varingo systems. Yeah, and they'll be going up against Germany. We saw Germany a bit earlier today with Black Dragon, but same concept. You got the good old Manor House bonus with this Germany. They literally plagiarized it off the British, and they never gave them a citation or credit in the quote for it. So, definitely cheaters on their papers for sure, and they'll fail. But yeah, at least they get free villagers from it. So yeah, yep. See, a free villager spawns out when you build a house. If you can get all 20 of these Mites Cairn houses, you can have a 20 villager gap over your opponent, which is just really phenomenal. Just a really good boost of your economy, pretty much. Yeah, quite strong. Quite strong indeed. What's the deck look like, though, is the question. So it's looking more or less... This is looking more or less 1v... Well, we can see the deck is called May Coffers. This is because the Royal Guard upgrade for the Line Infantry of Germany is called the May Coffer. And it looks like that's exactly what the deck is going to be centered around. Because the way you really get really strong May Coffers with Germany is... You get these two short-range attack cards for the Land War Infantry and the Line Infantry. You pick up the Spandau Arsenal, which basically is the same card as Advance Arsenal, but it halves the cost of all the Arsenal techs. And then this really important card here called the Needle Gun card. It allows Line Infantry to shoot faster. So really, Germany gets some of the best Line Infantry / Musketeers in the game because they actually shoot faster, which not only makes them good against... assault units, because I mentioned that whole kiting aspect before of how you can hit and run against heavy cav because of their hand armor and really abuse that. But this makes them good against infantry even, They'll definitely dominate against other musketeers and hand units, but they'll also do slightly better against skirms because they're hitting them more times with their bullets against their pierce armor. So, really works out in all the situations, Totally good. Going with the Statesman here. I believe the Statesman is the same as the Governor General. So you get a outpost wagon, then you get some coin. That's basically what the Statesman does. And that's actually pretty significant for Germany, because Germany, which I haven't mentioned before, gets a kind of a wacky bonus with their towers, where they can call levies of emergency units from their towers. They can call the Land War Infantry and the Land War Cavalry. Land War Infantry is basically the same stats as like a Minutemen, whereas the Land War Cavalry are basically like emergency lancers. So they have multipliers against like skirmishers, and they have sort of stats like that. Now the thing is, though we don't really see it in this deck, there's two particular cards, the Bismarck model and then the Royal Decree, with the tech called Weltpolitik, will actually allow you to prevent those emergency units from losing hit points, and then also allow you to upgrade and train them for your regular military buildings. Yeah. So for Germany, they start out as like super fancy schmancy Minutemen pretty much, and then at the end of the game, if you want to, you can turn them into a complete part of your roster and use them to aid the rest of your army with their special, their special stats. In particular, the Land War Infantry being a Minutemen could be very helpful against you in a Grenadier Civ like Peru, which relies on the Legion Peruana as their backbone infantry unit. Peru doesn't get conscriptos. They only get Grenadiers really in terms of efficient range infantry. They get two units. They get the Bonero, which is their version of the crossbowman pretty much. I think it's much worse than the Escopetero personally. Yes, it does only cost wood, making it really cheap and spammable, and I guess in some cases it can be a bit better, but that's besides the point. The other thing they get is like their main backbone is the Legion Peruana. It's a grenadier basically. So throw the bomb, shoot the musket, throw the bomb. Every 60 seconds it alternates between those two things pretty much, Well, not every 60 seconds. Well, it throws the bomb, Shoots a musket for 60 seconds, then it throws a bomb again. That's how Legion Piranhas work. Goes for the Japanese immigrants as well here. Now, Japan can be pretty powerful of an ally for you. Their villagers in particular are very good early game because, for one, they gather really well at berries, which, most games you're going to have berry bushes near your town center, right? And it also, the first time you age up with the Japanese immigrants, they give you cherry orchards. So even if you don't have berries, you can put those Japanese workers right on top of the cherry orchards that are provided to you. And the other reason why Japanese workers are really good is because their houses that they construct are actually shrines. So you could go up to a bunch of hunts on the other side of the Tigris or Euphrates rivers here and collect those animals as if you were with Japan with those little shrine houses. And there's actually a upgrade card, I believe, even at the level 1 here, that actually acts as their version of the Age 4 upgrade that Japan gets, basically, like a stronger version of Heavenly Kami, pretty much. Well, actually not Heavenly Kami, because it doesn't make the shrines cheaper, it just gives them a really big boost in their trickle rate. Yeah, it's just really effective for that, pretty much. Quite powerful. That's pretty much what it does there. Can really help you out a whole lot if you know how to do it very, very well, essentially. Yeah, pretty much. Yep, we see Ringo putting the racks in the back of the base here. Is likely going to try to mount some sort of mass of Legion Piranhas here to deal with Rommel. Rommel's going to go Hussar, it looks like, with the stable. Which, that is a perfect response to deal with Peru. Because, Peru relies a lot on non-anti-cap. Peru can indeed train the Pardo, which is the Peruvian polearm unit. But that's all they get, really, until age 3 when they get the Yanets, So, Hussar is definitely a really good answer to Peru. Especially since they nerfed those Grenadiers with the malice to the grenade throws now. Because before they did that, you actually could mass up Grenadiers and send Hussars and their riders flying off the horses, and the horses flying in the air, basically, going, whoa, I got blown up! Like that. Like an actual explosion. But now, they need a lot of Grenadiers to do that, and probably like 100 of them or something to really do that effectively. So, now Hussars kind of do what they're supposed to do and actually counter the Grenadiers properly, which is good. You kind of want them to do that, Yeah. And as far as the Pardo is concerned with Peru, and really all the Latin American civs, unlike the Europeans, the Pardos of the Latin Americans actually can be upgraded to the Guard and Imperial level. I guess they're what they call in the Wars of Liberty team a ceremonial unit or something. Basically, it's sort of archaic, but since it's ceremonial and it's always part of the Civ, they kind of give it a free pass and say, hey, they can get Guard and Imperial upgrades even without Royal Guard. So yeah, but actually the Musketero does not get that same privilege, so you do need Royal Guard for a Civ to be able to get Guard and Imperial Musketeros, with the exception of Mexico. With Mexico, they do get a card Insurgentes, where they actually can get the Musketeros to Guard and Imperial, the regular ones, but only through that card, basically. So all the other times with, unless you're a Royal Guard Civ for the Musketeros, you basically can get them beyond that Guard and Imperial. But the funny thing is, only 2 of the civs in Latin America that gets Musketeros only ends up in that predicament, One of them is unfortunately Peru. The other one is Brazil. So all the civs, other civs that get Musketeros can either get Royal Guard ones, or you get the one exception that Mexico does, right? Or the civs just don't have Musketeros, right? Argentina doesn't get them, Uruguay doesn't get them, Chile doesn't get them, so they just don't have them at all, so they don't have to worry about that. They get their own stuff. Paraguay obviously has the Primero de Linea, which is sort of their really cheap and weak version of the Musketero, but serves the same purpose, just in a more swarmy sense. So yeah, kind of interesting, And I think that was really good, because I was worried for a while that Musketeros people were complaining about them, that they're too used too much in these civs in the modern game, and it's like, no, I like Mosquiteros. I like how their guerrilla tactics impacts the game and makes the Juanitos feel a bit more special than the Europeans, because there was people back then that were saying they should just make them into pikemen and just turn the Pardo into like a halberdier and make the Mosquitero like a pikeman, and I was like, that's kind of dull. I mean, it's very different in that sense because, who's to say somebody wielding a pike is going to have the same viability against somebody on horseback than somebody wielding a machete? I mean, the machete could probably totally hack into a horse and probably hurt it pretty badly, but it's not going to be the same as a pike, which is a polearm that you use from long range and basically act as a big picket fence that stops the horses in their tracks. It's like a big difference, I think, militarily in that. So I'm glad the Mosquiteros are where they're at now, and they feel more like swordsmen, which they should be. They're good against infantry, because that's what you'd really want to use against infantry is machetes. You definitely wouldn't want to use, say, like a halberd by itself. You'd want to use a machete because it's better used by the individual. Oh yeah, by the way, look at these Pardos having a free attack on these Hussars. Poor Rommel not paying attention to the map and completely getting caught offside by there. He's lost about half of his numbers there, which is a total loss. Total loss. Total wash there. Unbelievable. Unreal. You gotta watch what you're doing, Rommel. It's great that you're going Hussar, but if he is going Pardos, you need to be on the lookout for that. That's good play on Faringo's part. He knew that his civ is weak against cavalry early on, so he got right on the bandwagon with getting the polearms out, which I think was a really good idea, honestly. A phenomenal idea. Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a great idea. Glad he did it, basically. Yeah, quite a good idea. And it also is going to get the Marianism. This is a pretty cool card that a lot of the Latin American civs gets. So basically what it does is it gives you a church wagon, and it increases your build limit of a church by 1. And why is that important? Because what they managed to do in Wars of Liberty that you notice in Definitive Edition is churches actually trickle experience points in both Wars of Liberty and Definitive Edition only. So if you can get a second church, that means you're going to trickle about 1 experience point per second instead of half of an experience point, which means you're going to get shipments uber fast. And in the case of a civ like a civ that gets the Croatian immigrants, they can actually get their build limit of churches up by another 2, so you get 1 more church for Marianism, and you get 2 more churches through the Croatians and their Franciscan monastery technology, basically, because you can get technologies from these immigrant colonies as well. You get 2 per age up at that colony if you pick them, right? And then in age 5, instead of getting more techs, you just get some sort of benefit, right? If you don't go with that immigrant the whole game, it's just like a bunch of units or something that gets gradually better the more you invest in them. But if you go with one immigrant the whole game, they'll give you something called an ultimate power, which is a really big tech that which is basically your effect for the Imperial Age, For the case of Germany, it's actually 2 factory wagons, which is uber good for a culture that doesn't even get factories. And they're fully functional. They get like steel guns, they get the resource trickles, really good. For Japan, actually, it allows you to get a second copy of your ultimate building, because normally, if you have your ultimate building, which here would be the Guanera, basically, if you lose that, you can get another one through Peru. And if you don't lose your Guanera, then you can have 2 of them, and 2 is better than 1, right? So it really helps you out there. Now, the problem is Faringo has his Guanera in his deck on a map that doesn't have water. This is a naval building. It's basically a factory on water, filled with a lot of bird poop. A lot of stinky bird poop, basically. You know those times when you're in your car and you're trying to go down the road, or you're waiting at a red light and some pigeon or whatever poops all over your front shield of your car? Yeah. Basically, there's money in bird poop, which is called guano, basically. And that's what that building is all about. And how it works is it just like a factory, you can choose what resource you want to trickle from it. And while it's doing that, on the side it has a separate queue where it will produce this ship called a turret ship for you that has a build limit of 2. And from the turret ship, it's basically a siege ship, so it has a long range, but it can also train your ultimate unit, the Guardia Marina, which is a stronger marine infantry than normal, which actually can hold its own against other units because of how statistically useful it is. It's quite strong. It can help you out quite a bit, actually. So yeah, it's really good for that overall. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to turn out. Looks like Rommel went... he's doing a mixture of veteran line infantry with veteran hussar and his Yuan shipment. He's also adding in some war elephants from the native side. So he's going a lot of shock, but a bit of musket too. Whereas Peru is going mass skirmish with the Berneros, with a couple of protecting Pardos. I think what Ringo needs to do here is he needs to sort of clean up his comp here a little bit and get some more anti-cav mixed in. He needs a little bit more hand cav, I believe, because if he doesn't get more hand cav, he's going to have some problems here. He just needs a little bit more of those little big pointy sticks, basically, to come in and help himself here. If he does that, I think he's golden. Should be, anyways. Yeah, pretty much. Should be. Getting a fort now. The fort is kind of a signature thing that Ringo always does here, pretty much. It's kind of the way that Ringo was able to stall his opponents and get a proper counterattack usually. He'll put the fort down, it'll stop the advance, and then Ringo comes with an effective counter army usually. And then he tries to mount his defense around the fort so he can never take it down. That's sort of the key to the Ringo strategies here. Now the problem is though, is that he's pinned against the wall by Rommel here, so he's gonna have some problems doing that. He's gonna have to come up with some sort of strategy to pull that off. Right now, oh, so he got the fort back here, so he could put it, he's gonna put it right in this spot here. Can Rommel see that though? Let me see. He doesn't know about it yet, so he might be able to pull this off. He sees it now, though. He sees it now, though, but he's still fighting on this side here. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Rommel's actually going to let him get away with this fort or not. If he does, that could totally cause some problems. For sure. If he lets him fully build this thing out. Taking out the elephant, that's pretty big. Now we can go back to the flying gear. So yeah, he's basically kiting him around the block and trying to get as many bullets into these elephants and horses as possible. Because as you know, outposts do have multipliers against cav units. So the longer you can keep, you know, your enemy occupied and running around here, that's a great way to basically get them all cut up and sliced up by all these bullets all around the side here. It's just a really good stalling tactic to use. It can really help you out a whole lot there. Quite well, actually. Yeah, it's quite powerful. Yep, shipping in some more Berneros there. Taking a good advantage of those skirms when they were sort of idling there. That was good. See if we can take out those skirms. Does he have any immigrant? Yep, he has an immigrant worker. That's good. You know why this is important? Because if you lose your immigrant colony, the only way you can rebuild rebuild a immigrant colony is if you have one of the workers left. If you lose all the workers, you can never rebuild that colony ever again. But since Ringo saved one of them, he's going to be able to retain that building when he rebuilds it again. And be able to take advantage of some of those immigrant battalions. Yeah. neat thing about the Japanese immigrants is they can get the dojos as well, which can be configured to make one of their 2 immigrant units too. So I mean, Japan's a great way for getting lots of free units into your ranks for sure. I don't know, can Varingo hold this out? Time will tell. Time will tell on this one. I don't know. Where's Rommel at? Oh, so Rommel's still age 3, so he didn't go up to industrial yet, so I don't know. The thing you can do with Peru, even if you run out of space in the tower to garrison is, you can garrison Peruvian villagers called the Cholos in houses and other buildings, and you normally can't. So that's one of the tricks that Peru does, is they'll put a house on the frontier where they're hunting, and they'll just hide in the house because it's cheaper than putting a tower up. I mean, they still have to clean it out basically and recover that area, but gives them more time to work with basically in that defense, which can be really helpful for them overall. Quite helpful actually. Yep. Picking up. Well, basically this combat card is long-range combat, so it actually affects the skirms, just so you know. Because I know it looks sort of similar to these, so you might get a little bit tricked by that, thinking, oh, they get another musketeer upgrade. No, that's for skirms. Yeah. They actually get a separate, like, card that improves the anti-light cav multipliers on the skirmisher, which is pretty cool, you know. So they get some wacky bonuses for sure. Yeah. Well, eventually what's going to happen is they're going to remove skirmishers from the game, and they're going to replace them with Jaegers for all the Germanic civs, you know. And for all the civs that aren't Germanic, they're going to give every European civ that isn't Germanic a unique skirmisher unit, which is pretty cool, you know. Like, I think Spain's going to get the Chapelgorz, and then all the Germanic civs, like the Dutch, Germans, Austro-Hungarians, Swedes, Danish, they're all going to have Jaegers, which is pretty cool. I don't know if they're going to have the same stats as the Jaegers of the old Jaegers, basically, because I heard at one point they wanted to give the Green Jacket the multipliers of the Jaeger that they used to be, and then make the Jaegers have the stats of the Green Jacket, which would mean they would be available in Age 2 then, so... Considering what the Green Jacket is now, maybe they'll make the Jaegers, the old school Jaegers, that, you know, work a bit differently. Because what happens with the old Jaegers is they had higher multipliers against other units, and only through cards and different means could you actually get them to the similar range stats as the other civs. So eventually they would even out as like normal skirmisher stats, but the multipliers would turn into absolute beasts then. Yeah. Probably Varingo is trapped in his fort now, and it's gonna get shot down. And once the fort goes down, he goes down, pretty much. Yeah, he goes down. He goes down. Wow. Pretty intense there. Yeah. Pretty intense, I would say. Big time. Yeah, I mean, looking at the post game, you can tell the difference between Germany and Peru right away. Because I've always found, particularly when doing Liga games, Peru wasn't always the best eco-civ, you know. I mean, they certainly can take advantage of their infinite Vil shipments pretty well, but, you know, if you're dealing with the Portugal and the Germany, you're going to have some problems pretty quickly at Peru. Also because their roster is a little bit whacked. You know, they don't have muskets. They actually do give muskets, but they don't get them in the traditional way. They actually have to send some card called the Peruvian-Bolivian Confederation to get access to the Colorados through the lightship. And through that, they're basically able to get some sort of Bolivian musketeer that has a build limit, since it's also an ultimate unit, basically. And by the way, it works vice versa, too. Bolivia can get access to the Guardia Marinas of the Perusive through a card they also have called the Bolivian-Peruvian Confederation as well. Yeah. And I think that's in this situation, the problem is that Rommel just prepared really good with a lot of hand cav to really take advantage of Peru's lack of a musket unit early on. And they were able to get this high kill rate, and thus were able to really start crushing into their base and start burning through things really quickly there. And an insane rate of incineration, pretty much. You know, I mean, this is the graph. If you want to look at a graph and see how well basically Germany outdoes any civ, here you go right here. This is all manor houses, baby, right here. All this. And probably a little bit of this too, depending on what Rommel was exactly doing with his setup, with his construction, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty interesting, though, you know. Really is the way it sets up, pretty much. Yeah, so, yeah, what did you think of the stream today? Was it pretty good? Did you enjoy the games that we had today? I definitely enjoyed them, you know. And at least we know we got some to do for next week as well, too, which is really good. Yeah, and certainly, always make sure, this is one thing I want people to know. If you're a Wars of Liberty player and you're playing, you know, on the Radman server or any server, get your games recorded and stuck into that Rec Games channel right away. Because if I don't have enough games, you won't be able to do a stream. So the only way we can keep up with these live streams like we had today is basically making sure that you basically give me your game recordings, right? So yeah, make sure you do that for sure. Yeah. And also, for those that like Definitive Edition, I'll actually be doing some production work for ESOC TV this Sunday with 2 of their games. You know, they'll have a group of casters and co-casters pretty much doing the talking, and I'll just be doing the production part, you know. Going through the overlay, scrolling through all the game parts. That's what I'll be doing. So if you really like Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition, I will be doing my first production role for one of their ESOC TV streams, which is pretty cool, you know. I didn't really want to bring that up earlier because I guess there was some sort of thing where they had to make sure certain players didn't get news of certain things. So, you know, now that the things are in full swing and people are organizing their games and stuff, I figured it'd be pretty cool to mention that I'm now, you know, into ESOC TV and helping them with the streams and stuff, which is pretty nice, you know. On the House of the Trading Post front, basically, I don't think they got enough sign-ups for this month for their academy. So I don't think they're going to have any show matches this month, which means I'm going to be able to dedicate all my weekend support streaming time to ESOC TV and not House of the Trading Post. But I'm going forward, though. In the other months, I'm going to have to... Probably what I could do is I probably could do a House of the Trading Post stream on Saturday and do one for ESOC TV on Sunday. Because if I do any ones during the week, I would have to do them after my work shift, because the guy that ESOC TV I talked to said, you know, could you pick up Friday? And I basically told him, you know, I'm in the Eastern time zone of the United States, and unfortunately the times he gave me in Greenwich time literally equates to 9 a.m. and later in the morning. And if you know the Dolly parts on 925, you understand that in America, in Gringoland, you start your job at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if literally they want you to start streaming at 9, that's basically saying, in so many words, hey, skip your job, go stream for ESOC TV instead. And it's like, you know, it sounds fun, but you don't get enough money doing that. You know, if I got like paid like $100,000 an hour or something to be production or whatever, yeah, that would probably be a good thing to PTO for. But you know, the fact that you're basically doing it for free and not, well, you're not doing it for free directly. Like whenever I do a stream service for House of the Trading Post, Royal Clan, or ESOC TV, there's some reason why I do that. Number one, it's to basically do it to help the Age 3 community out and basically participate in that stuff for fun. It's enjoyable to do for sure. And the second reason you do it is because it is a great way to advertise yourself as a content creator for Age of Empires 3. Because, unfortunately, if you don't get your name out there as a YouTuber and streamer, there's a lot of players out there that watch Age of Empires 3 on YouTube and Twitch that don't know, basically, that you exist, pretty much. Because, of course, when you're on a platform like YouTube, they have algorithms based on different factors like watch history, off of chat rates, off of likes on a video, that will basically determine how many people will see that video in their screen. And, of course, how many out of those that sees it in their screen will actually click on it, right? For those that are first starting out, it can get really daunting, because some of these Age of Empires channels that, you know me and subscribe to me, I've seen them, they only have like 40 subscribers, and what happens is you get into a bottleneck where you know, they're only the people in that teeny weeny circle which are probably mostly friends of the player usually, but also maybe some people they know in one of the discords that came across them, are going to be part of that circle, and they're going to watch them constantly, which is great. But, you know, outside of that, you don't get too many people out of that circle, so you need some sort of way to grow that and move beyond the model. And you got different ways of doing that, I found. One way, of course, is to do streaming, because streaming is a really good way to attract people who are looking for things that are live. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to try different games. Also try different mods. You know, not only can you either buy new games or play other games that you're really good at for your channel. That's a good thing that you can do, is a good strategy. But certainly one thing that you can do that's really good is just find mods for the games that you play. Like Age of Empires 3 has a really good, I would say, library of mods. Really good library of mods that you can do. You got Wars of Liberty, you got Napoleonic Era, you got Struggle of Indonesia, as well as a bunch of other ones on the Legacy side. And then on the Definitive Edition side, you got Age of the World, Age of Pirates, you got a bunch of other rising stars like Fantasy Monsters and the Minecraft Swedish one, and you just take your pick of those that you really like, and you do some videos for one of those civs that nobody else has done before. You're going to naturally find people that like those mods. They're going to find interest in you in particular, regardless of your skill level, because they know you really care about this game and you're looking to shine some light on these other civs and try to really learn them, you know, like I do with Wars of Liberty. You know, I would like to say I'm probably one of the most mainstream Wars of Liberty YouTubers and streamers out there right now, because I just do it so frequently, you know, and I keep up with it, you know. And thankfully, because of how well I've done that, that's allowed me to basically, you know, help out the Wars of Liberty team itself in many ways to be right there at the forefront when they're about to release a patch to basically preview all the civs, all the new features, right, basically before it releases. So it's almost like I give Wars of Liberty that really in-depth civ preview trailer experience that you normally get with proprietary games on like Nintendo or Microsoft or something where they go through everything basically and show all the players how the stuff works. I'm able to do that for Wars of Liberty and basically do individual uploads on not only individual civs that are coming out, but also civs that are going to be intensely reworked, as well as big time maps and features like Great War Age. Because I realized when I did that first upload on Great War Age, back when I was first testing that patch, we got like over 10,000 viewers who were interested in that thing. And this is many years after Definitive Edition has already been out. Definitive Edition theoretically should have had the whole market of AoE 3 players, but because Great War Age was such a lasting impact on many previous legacy players that were waiting for that feature and never got it, the fact when I let them know in so many words that it was basically right around the corner, people wanted to see that, which was pretty cool. So yeah, definitely a lot of advice I gave for people who want to do YouTube and streaming for AoE 3 themselves, as well as other games. Same model works really well, I think, for Age of Mythology. It would also work really good for Age of Empires 2 as well, because you got the same thing in Age of Mythology and AoE 2, is you got a large stack of really good mods that you can combine with it, that you can basically really market well. With AOM, you got the Divine Edition, which is mostly like Wars of Liberty like experience, but for Age of Mythology, and then Return of the Gods, which is all Aztec. You got the Star Wars one. You got a number of other ones that I haven't figured out how they work yet that I want to try, like the one for the Middle Earth one, the Lord of the Rings one. That's one I really want to try, and I think would be a good one to get started on at some point. And then I don't know if they have anything really big on the retold side yet. I know what was pretty cool was when I played Age of Mythology Retold on the first day it was released, it already had like 1 million mods on there. New scenarios, new skins, new voice mods, the modders got to work very quickly on Retold, and I think that was done to basically make it already feel like Extended Edition in its support of like scenarios, like Castle Blood and Palace Blood and Temple Blood, all those. Well, some other RPG style scenarios as well, and tower defense ones, so that was pretty fun. Yeah, I even did one of those tower defense style scenarios during the first post-release Age of Mythology Retold live stream as well. So that was pretty fun, actually. Definitely liked that one a whole lot for sure. Yeah, most definitely on that front. Any questions from anyone about the stream today or any of the games we did? I know whenever I'm like sifting through the Wars of Liberty Discord, there's always people wondering how certain unit tags works, how certain civs work, how certain mechanics work, and if we're at the end of the stream like this and you want me to basically explain to you in so many words or whatever how something works, I'd happily, teach a player how one of the tags works, for instance. Like how Scout works and when you would use it versus Assault versus Maneuver versus Skirmish, and understand the intricacies of all these new tags, basically. Yeah, because things like Assault, for instance, don't just apply to like horses and infantry. They can also apply to World War I weapons. Yeah, like, did you know that tanks were considered assault units and armored cars were considered scout units? But instead of having a shock tag with it, it has a artillery tag, which means it's the only instance of assault being combined with artillery instead of shock, which means pikemen, which normally would be really good, pikemen are usually really good with things that have the assault or the scout tag, right? Because they're normally under the umbrella of shock. But in the one unique case of tanks and armored cars, pikemen are now useless pieces of poop. But strangely enough, the musketeers that actually do have individual multis for scout, maneuver, and assault tags actually do multipliers against tanks, which is really strange, you know? I don't know if that means that their bayonets are really cutting into the tracks of the tank, or are they literally climbing up into the tank and, you know, taking the thing over? What does that mean, basically? It's pretty strange, though. Yeah. And also, mind you, tanks and armored cars have both pierce armor and hack armor. So they got double armor values. You know, not the only units in the mod that have it, but pretty notable example that do, you know. Another example of ones that have double armor are the honor guard, of course, that I mentioned earlier today when talking about assault unit applications versus heavy inf, and also the voltage arrows of Grand Columbia. But that's more of a different situation. The reason why it has double armor is because the way it works is basically it deals a charge range attack, right? It has a rifle, it shoots out one shot, and before it can reload it again within a number of seconds, it'll charge the enemy with its machete and go into melee. And that's the way the voltage arrow works. So it needs hack armor to survive melee, but it also gets a bit of natural pierce armor since it's a skirmish unit, you know. So it's a hybrid between skirmish and hand unit, basically. But it doesn't get the hand... I don't believe it gets the hand infantry tag at all. It's just skirmish, which I find to be pretty strange, actually. So yeah, most definitely it's pretty strange indeed, for those wondering what that's all about, for sure. Trying to think if there's anything else tag-wise that people are wondering about that I could explain here. Let me look at the Wars of Liberty Discord for anything else. Oh yeah, I've have a little bit more time to do some chatting here, so I figured I'd try to explain some stuff here. Let me see. Talking about, I'm trying to read this article here that somebody wrote. I found it hard to fight natives at age 2-3, not impossible but hard. So he says he struggles against Hods. The ambassador? Okay. Yeah, so basically with natives, for those that don't know how to deal with natives, the key to understanding Native American civs is, in Wars of Liberty, is that there's two sets of natives. You get the North American natives that are the old school natives, and then you got the South American natives, which are the newer creation of Wars of Liberty. Yeah, so what North American natives do is they have the fire pit, so they work exactly like they do in the War Chiefs expansion, as well as the way that they work in Definitive Edition. So they use the fire pit to do multiple dances that can boost up different things, right? They get fertility dance, which improves training rate. They get the attack dance, which adds additional attack pretty much. And then they get a number of other dances depending on what civ you are, right? Like, for instance, Lakota will get the dog soldier dance that will allow you to produce dog soldiers pretty much. Aztecs that are obviously gone would have the Skull Knights, and then so forth and so forth from that, pretty much. But in the case of the South American natives, they don't get a fire pit. What they get instead is a monument. And how the monument works is, it's the same thing as... Well, I wouldn't say it's the same thing as, but it's basically the way Age of Mythology works. So what a monument does is, it contains god powers, which Wars of Liberty calls nature powers. But they're the same thing, they're god powers. And just like, this is the funny thing, because even before Age of Mythology Retold even came out, Wars of Liberty already invented the idea of rechargeable god powers, because it had these monuments that could unleash lightning storms, tornadoes, fire, all of these things, basically, onto the opponent, as well as turning enemies into captured prisoners that you could eat. Cannibalism, yeah. Wars of Liberty has lots of cannibalism. That's another cool thing it's got. And earthquakes and droughts, all sorts of things like that. So functionally there, when you're dealing with North American natives, one of the things you gotta be concerned about is essentially dealing with the fire pit and how that could boost up your enemy, right? Because if you think just looking at the base stats that you can deal with something like a tomahawk or a bow rider or an axe rider, potentially you might be able to do that in a normal situation, but if a player knows how to use the fire pit, they can throw all their villages on at the last second and win the fight with the increased attack. Turn it into this really bonkers situation pretty much where you're super duper ahead on it, pretty much. Yeah, it's essentially the way it is. Most definitely there, for sure. And in the case of the South American natives, you obviously have to deal with the nature powers. The ability of lightning, the ability of fire, the ability of, I believe, earthquake or tornado, pretty much. And those things can really hurt you as well as the ability to turn your enemies into the cannibalized pieces of meat, pretty much. Well, it's a really powerful, the cannibalism ability is really powerful because it turns all the units that you targeted on into, basically kills them. And they turn into herdables. Herdables you can't move. They just sit there tied to these little sticks pretty much. And then you can either ignore them for the rest of the game pretty much. And they'll be like herdables. Or you can actually eat them. You can have your villagers go over there and start to munch on them and eat them. Which is pretty cool actually. So yeah, very fun indeed for sure. Yeah, definitely. And I guess one more thing with the South American natives, too, is the fact that they have culverins and the northern natives don't. Yeah, the Boca Fuego. For some reason, all the South American natives get Boca Fuegos. It's like their own common unit, pretty much, is the culverin. They don't get any other common units, just the culverin. Yeah. But the funny thing is all those natives gets their own cannon beyond the Boca Fuego. Like Tupi, it's the Thunder Gun. It's a really powerful cannon, but once it fires once, it literally blows up and stops working and it dies. The cannon dies after you shoot it once. For Inca, they get the Inca Mortar. It's really good long range, but it's also good against infantry in groups. And then the Mapuche get like a dedicated sort of like falconet style cannon that looks sort of like a flaming arrow. And it's called the artillery piece, basically. Because it's literally an artillery piece that was captured from the conquistadores, pretty much, yeah. Which is a neat little fact about them, essentially. Yeah, so, that's good with everyone. I think we're good for the stream for now. I'll see you either on Sunday if you're going to be watching that ESOC TV stream. I'll be doing production over there. If not, I'll be streaming Definitive Edition 3 matches on Tuesday. And I'll be streaming more Wars of Liberty games on Thursday of next week. If you want me to stream Age of Mythology at all on one of those days, you're going to have to let me know ahead of time. But, you know, I'll probably keep it at like 2 streams a week unless you want me to do it more. You know, because I remember during one of my streams I was doing for like Age of Mythology, one of the PvZ Heroes people came in and said, do some more PvZ Heroes games. And I'm like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll put one up right now. Yeah, and I did that, exactly that. I published one that day. Festive Mod 2, yep, absolutely, I gotta do that. Yeah, I'm looking for a time slot that I can go in and fight those bots and destroy them, basically. Because I did pretty good on the map that had Donald Trump, Obama, and Biden on it. So I bet I'll do good with the one that has Viper and Hera and all those on it as well, I bet. So yeah, definitely looking forward to doing that one for sure. So, with that being said, I guess I'm going to sign off now. And see you next time for the next live stream. These are definitely very fun, and I enjoy doing them with you. Just make sure that you give me plenty of recordings, and of course, show up when you can, so we can keep these streams going for a very long time. It's a good tradition.